It's time for LSU Fighting Tiger football on Eagle 98.1. Presented by Low Bears Baton Rouge. Wishing the best of luck to Coach Brian Kelly and the Tigers this season. And LSU football can be heard all season long on the flagship home of the Tigers. Eagle 98.1, the Rock Station.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on.
Presented by Super Chevy. See your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge.
This is LSU football.
Shotgun snap low, took it off the grass, gives it to Williams. Williams trying to bounce it outside. Williams gets to the 2, to the 1. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers. Takes the shotgun snap, looking to throw, airs it out. Caught by Lacey at the 3, middle of the field, into the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Tonight, from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, it's the LSU Tigers and the USC Trojans. Now, here's Charles Hanagriff.
From the BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Nevada, just across from Allegiant Stadium. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by your Super Chevy dealers. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charles Hanagriff, alongside Gordy Rush and our entire staff at the flagship. We'll walk you up to the kickoff for tonight's season opener between the LSU Tigers and the USC Trojans. Last season, LSU went 10-3, 6-2 in the Southeastern Conference, and finished the season with a 35-31 win over Wisconsin in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa. The Tigers were ranked 12th in the nation in both final polls, and they begin this year in almost exactly the same position. LSU is ranked 12th by the coaches and 13th by the AP as we begin play here tonight. Gone from last season's team is Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Jaden Daniels, along with fellow first-round draft choices Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Those three accounted for nearly 8,000 yards of total offense, so they leave big shoes to fill. LSU seems equipped for the job, though. Fourth-year quarterback Garrett Nussmeier ready to take over for Daniels behind an offensive line that has started a combined 110 FBS games. With a new play caller in Joe Sloan, these Tigers will certainly look different from their predecessor. Gordy, exactly how different? We start finding out here in about 5 hours.
Yeah, I think they're going to be different. Obviously, the Nussmeier can't run like Daniels, but I think they're going to lean on this offensive line, and especially in this game with the problems USC had defending the run. I think LSU is going to get physical. Will Campbell has said so, and I think we're going to see a lot of Caleb Jackson tonight.
On defense last year, LSU was, quite frankly, a major disappointment. Actually, major disappointment might be the kindest thing that was said in the offseason about last year's defense. The Tigers finished 108 out of 133 FBS teams in total defense. After the bowl game, Brian Kelly acted quickly, dismissing the entire defensive staff and returning Blake Baker to Baton Rouge as his defensive coordinator after Baker had 2 strong seasons at Missouri. Also back on staff are familiar faces in Bo Davis and Corey Raymond. Together, they'll try to restore the LSU defense to its prior greatness, a task that will probably take more than a single season. But every journey starts with the first step, and that first step for the defense tonight is USC, and that ain't easy with Lincoln Riley calling plays.
No, Lincoln Riley is from the Tony Franklin Air Raid School. He's going to spread the football field. They're going to go quick. They had 6. Their quarterback Moss had 6 touchdowns in the game against Louisville, the bowl game. So they're still going to be who they are, and Lincoln Riley's always been explosive. Here's what I think Blake Baker's going to do, and what I've seen throughout fall camp. He's simplified things, Charlie. He's got them lined up. They're doing 2 or 3 things. The head is clear. They're playing fast, and they're playing really, really aggressive. I don't think you're going to see them with the mistakes and the broken coverages and the misassignments that we saw a year ago. Hopefully not. On the flip side, I think this is a really good defense if they get you behind the chains, and they can get it's not the cheetah package. There's a new Raptor package or whatever it is. They can get Perkins on the line of scrimmage along with Swinson and Kickin Jones and Shand. They've given LSU's offense some problems in fall camp with this package. They've got enough athletes to make things really interesting.
Riley's trying to replace a Heisman Trophy winner of his own in Caleb Williams. Last year, USC finished unranked at 8-5, 5-4 in the Pac-12, a conference that no longer exists, except on paper. In a truly shocking move, the Trojans and UCLA Bruins announced in July of 2022 that they were moving to the Big Ten. That started a chain reaction of moves that would see Washington and Oregon join the LA schools in defecting to the Big Ten, while the rest of the league went into the Big 12. or got left behind. It means that USC will play league games in Michigan, Minnesota, and Maryland this season. That's nothing that Keith Jackson ever imagined that he would say. But the Big Ten debut for the 23rd-ranked Trojans isn't about the league tonight. It's about the opponent. In 2003, LSU won the BCS National Championship, and USC took the AP National crown. The two fan bases have spent the last 2 decades cutting each other dirty looks when the topic comes up. We'll never know who would have won that matchup. But tonight, these teams meet for only the 3rd time. The Trojans took one of the legendary Tiger Stadium games in 1979. LSU won the rematch at the Coliseum in 1984. But they haven't met in 40 years. The two teams tonight have a lot in common. Both have 4th-year quarterbacks who are first-time, full-time starters. Both have good offensive lines and skill position players. Both teams were extremely poor on defense a year ago, and both fired their defensive coordinators. Both teams have highly successful coaches who are in their 3rd year. And both of these teams believe that they'll be in the 12-team college football playoff at regular season's end. The winner gets a leg up. It'll be electric. LSU fans started piling into this town midweek. They have not stopped since. They are here in big numbers. USC rallied a little bit this morning. They have brought a nice contingent here in the BetMGM Sportsbook. Reggie Bush is going to make an appearance here later this afternoon. So you got a lot of Trojan fans that are adjacent to us here in the Sportsbook. But look, Sin City, tailor-made for the guys from the South, and they've been having a good time all week. But it is game day. Let's go. From Las Vegas, this is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs: reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Defense. Presented by Edward Jones. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
Back here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay. Gordy, Blake Baker comes in first year as the defensive coordinator at LSU, and he said the same two things that every new defensive coordinator that I've ever seen hired said. We want to make it simpler, and we want to play more aggressively. And that's great. I'm all for it. But it occurs to me that I don't think the last guy wanted to make things super complicated and play passively, so they always want to do that. What does it mean, though, practically, to simplify this and play more aggressive?
Well, I think simplify it from the standpoint that the players get it and can execute it. I mean, how many times did we see last year? I know that I did, doing sidelines, I'll stand in the back. And the defensive secondary, not everybody had the call. I mean, they're not doing the same thing. And then a lot of them weren't really fundamentally sound in playing zone defenses. Charlie, I went out on like the fourth practice. They were teaching cover 2 stuff that would have been taught on the first day of spring ball. They've gone back and they're playing 3 or 4 back end type of coverages. He's a little bit more complex on the front, but at least getting people's heads clear. They can line up. They know where the call is and play that defense. Now, the question on the back end, to me, is that secondary athletically. I think the young guys have potential. Stamps and some of those people. Ryan played good at times, and moving Burns down was huge. I think they have better talent than what they showed. Do I think this is a top 30 defense? I do not. But I think they're gonna play aggressive. They're playing well as a unit, and against a pretty good offense in fall camp, they made some stops. They didn't stop them all the time, but they looked better.
A top 50 defense would be just fine. When I hear simplification in the secondary, to me that means man coverage. LSU has had a long list of great man-to-man cover cornerbacks. I don't know if they have those guys on this team, though.
Stamps can be that guy. Okay. I worry about Ryan, right? And I think where Ryan's really skilled, he's physical and he can play cover 2. And then you get in passing situations, you want to kick him down to nickel. Woodland has a chance to be special, right? He's great. You're going to throw him in the game here tonight. What does that look like, right?
I love his coverage. He's a little thin. I'm worried about him getting muscled a little bit. He's about 160 pounds.
Johnson, to me, is intriguing, the Ohio State transfer. You can see that there's a lot of potential there. Is he, Marucci and all those guys will know how close he is to 100%. You got choices. You didn't have choices before. I mean, I remember the Florida State game, and I'd seen Deuce Chestnut at a couple scrimmages, but they don't hit at the fall scrimmages. And I see him out there against Florida State. I'm like, this guy's 5'10", runs 4.7. You got no chance.
Yeah.
You got people that have a chance now, and I think that's a big difference.
Major Burns kicks down to the star. In basic terms, that means he's playing closer to the line of scrimmage. He has at times been a suspect tackler, just to be honest. But he's an older player. He's a vet. He knows his way around the football field. He puts himself in good position an awful lot. So
he's going to hit. Will he wrap up?
Yeah.
And he was not great in space. And so I think kicking him down. So you have Perkins who's playing the will, and Burns is playing the strong side linebacker, right? The thing is, if they want to go 2 or 3 wides, they want to flex a tight end out. Burns will flex a little bit. He's looked good. I think here's the $1 million question about tackling. Nobody tackles anymore. I think it's a huge critique. I don't know what that looks like until tonight. Now, they've worked more on it, and they knew that it was more of an issue than it was in the past. But Burns playing on the hash was not an answer for me. He struggled last year in the hash. Him playing that strong safety or nickel, the star position's a good fit.
Should probably ask about Harold Perkins. They put him inside a year ago for the opener. That didn't go well at all. They moved him back outside. It's not like he had a bad year, Gordy, but the expectations were so high after that standout freshman season that it left you wanting more. They have put him back inside again, but they promised to move him around. They said that last year. They really didn't. No. So what does Harold Perkins look like? First down, second down, third down in this defense.
Nobody was more confused than Harold Perkins last year. Yeah. I mean, you could tell his head was just fogged, and he was slow reading to reactions and what have you. And then eventually they got better. They went to that 4-3. They put Omar Spates in. And so this is similar to that, right, with Burns in that Spates role at star, call it what you want, and Perkins on the other side. I think 2 things. He's going to blitz. He's going to attack more. and he is more comfortable in his pass drops. I'll do this fall tour where I'm going around the state and talking about it, and I had 6 cut-ups of Perkins, how much better he was in spring and fall camp. His drops are better. He's anticipating and is reading his keys. If runs right at him, he's plugging. He didn't do that a year ago. 1,001, 1,002, late to the party, got blocked by a guard. He's hitting that. He's seeing the field better and able to cover his running back, receiver, in man coverage. So I think we've seen a maturation there. He's a little bit heavier, and Baker's going to cut him loose. He's simplified and do that. Simplified that and cut him loose. And Perkins is engaged. I think he got frustrated last year. I'm telling you, and I said that in the open, they get to that third down package, and we can get to the matchup and talk about it. They get to that third down package, it's going to be a pain in the butt. Yeah. LSU's, with that offensive line, struggled dealing with the complexity of stuff they do out of that package.
He's engaged. You're right. He's a little bit heavy. Looks like somewhere in the 225 range to me. And this is his money year, okay? And we believe he'll be a first-round pick, but there's a wide range. There's a big difference between being the 24th pick and the 14th pick, man. There's a lot of money to be made for him this year.
It's the Isaiah Simmons factor to me. The Arizona Cardinals took him in the top 10, I think 8th or 9th. They still don't know where to put him. Right?
That's exactly right.
Where do I put Harold Perkins on first and second down? That's what I'm telling his agents. You show me you can play that will linebacker on first and second down. Otherwise, you're kind of a gadget guy.
I would have shown him film of Hassan Reddick. To me, that's his pro comp. But, Reddick is a little bit of an outlier because he's a thinner guy, but he has pass rush moves, and he's been an elite pass rusher for a while. That's what I see Perkins as at the next level in the best case.
Yeah, look, the key tonight for me for USC is Woody Marks, right? The running back that's coming over from Mississippi State. If USC cannot run the football, and they get behind in this football game, and they're going to be in a pass situation, and they allow Blake Baker to get to the third down, cheetah package, whatever the hell we want to call it this year, it's going to be a long night. They can't block them. SC's, they've got two returning linemen. There's some question marks. They're not at the caliber that LSU's at. Moss doesn't move that well. I mean, he's a little bit of a sitting target. Yeah, they got some targets out there, and so I'm interested to see what Riley does. You've got to, between podcasts and technology and LouisianaSports.net and all this, everybody's talked about how wonderful this third down package is. He's got to want to run the football, and LSU going to be able to handle it.
On the edge, I was encouraged at practice what I saw out of Braden Swinson and Savion Jones, who frankly I thought was playing a little heavy last year. He looks like he's lost a little bit of weight, a little bit better first step. But the guy that really excites me is Deshaun Womack. Yeah. And I think that there's a role for him to really stand out this year. I don't know if it happens tonight, but I feel a little bit better about the pass rush off the edge right now than I did a month ago.
Look, I see the same things that you do in Womack, and talking to some folks, I think it's a maturity issue. He's going to get out there and play and be accountable each and every play, but he's going to be called on. Was it Railford? Gabe Railford is he's got a chance to give you a couple snaps, freshman year Ojolari stuff. Well, they've got athletes. They've got people. And so, yeah, absolutely. They can get with their regular personnel. I think they got numbers. But, again, you kick Shand has been really salty when they're on that third down package and he plays one of those three techs. They kick him down and play him next to Savion Jones. That's really tough to block. So, again, you want to go quick, you want to do all that, you're going to be able to run the ball. You want to make this an air raid game. If you make this an air raid game, you're putting LSU's best football 11 on the field.
Interior, Jacobian Guillory, Gio Paez, who is the Wisconsin transfer, are going to start the game. Both of these guys are very experienced, but they've never been full-time starters. They've always been package guys. And then the one behind them who is really exciting to me is Dominic McKinley, the freshman from Lafayette. I don't know that he's ready to make a big impact in tonight's game. Maybe he is. But that, along with the corners, is the biggest concern on this defense for me.
Yeah, well, the good thing is they have numbers, and they have Bo Davis. And so I think that Guillory's ready to make that jump to an SEC starter. Talking to those folks, he's really come around fundamentally, has had a great fall camp. I'm interested to see Paez, who played that defensive end in that Wisconsin scheme. They're kicking him down a little bit. He's put on a little bit weight. He's a technician, right? And so, we went from having no technique a year ago to having some technique. McKinley, to me, is a little bit of a baby giraffe, and that's a term that I've learned. He's growing into his body, but he's going to be something really, really special. I think the guy that's going to be interesting is Ahmad Bro. You know, Ahmad Bro has really, as a freshman, has shown some flashes and impressed them. And they feel like Suggs can give them 10 snaps as well, too. Suggs is just 6'1". He's really, really physical, looks the part, bottom down. He's just 6'1". But I feel better because – again, the defense is simpler, and then you have Bo Davis teaching some technique. I got to Missouri last year and then sat down with Pete Jenkins and learned that they really hadn't had a defensive line coach since the Purdue Bowl game. I was concerned.
Line up a little closer.
Yeah, absolutely.
If nothing else, line up a little closer to the line of scrimmage. We'll take a break. We'll flip sides of the football. We'll talk about the LSU offense when we return. The BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets. From
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Offense. Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
We return to the BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay. Gordy, Garrett Nussmeier. The one thing almost everybody has said about him from the day he hit campus is we love the aggressiveness, we love the swagger, if you want to use that word. It at times leads itself to being a little bit reckless. Could he keep the aggressiveness while cutting down on the mistakes? And that's a question we'll ask all year. I was encouraged by what I saw in the bowl game.
No, absolutely. I thought he made great progress, and it was the only opportunity that we really had a chance to see him last year because the defense was so bad. I mean, Jaden had to play 4 quarters, right? And there were situations, there were games that he should have played in. I thought he did a really nice job against Wisconsin. Hopefully he's going to continue to build on this lead in this game.
You should be able to run the football with this offensive line. I mean, when Jones and Campbell got to campus 2 years ago and became starters immediately, Jones in the second game and Campbell from the first game, said, man, when these guys are juniors, this is going to be a hell of a thing. And with Dellinger and Frazier, they should be able to insulate DJ Chester, the one newcomer here, who's got more size than Charles Turner. I don't know that he's technically as good as Turner was, but they should be able to insulate him. Gordy, they should be able to run the football. That should help out the defense. I'm very encouraged. Everything I like about this LSU team starts with that offensive line.
No, you can do a lot of things with that offensive line. Look, I think this offense changes from last year being a total vertical stretch. With Thomas and Neighbors, you could run both of them deep, and you had to keep safeties back. If you kept safeties back, then you opened up space for Jane Daniels to do a 2-man game with the running back or tight end, take off, to do what he wanted to do. This, to me, becomes a sideline, a horizontal stretch, sideline to sideline with that. And I think the one concern is you really don't have an inline tight end. So that being said, how do you get to the run game, and if they put numbers up there? And I think the answer is, and we've seen a whole lot of slip screens, a whole lot of quick stuff out on the perimeter, play action to the tight end and things of that nature. And I think that's the key to me is – we're going to keep you guessing, right? We're going to run play action bubble. We're going to come back the other way screen. And now you have not only Lacey and Daniels and Parker and all of these top-line people, but you have Aaron Anderson at 5'7", who's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Then you have Xavion Thomas. Then you got Pimpton, right, that can go post up on you.
All
and
6'6"
Taylor.
of him.
And Green's to me, Green's going to eventually break in as a red zone guy, and eventually he's got to learn football, right, and get him comfortable with that. But you have so many body types that just present matchup problems. So I think that's what you're going to see. Is it's going to be a check with me sort of thing. Are they going to put an extra guy in the box? If you're going to come stop run, we're going to pull it and throw it out there. And I think that's the way to get to it, and a whole lot of Caleb Jackson. I think that's the X factor that finally is starting to get out. We know about Caleb Jackson. The rest of the country is going to learn about him here this year.
All right, so my expectations for him are maybe a little bit more conservative, but this is sort of what I think they're going to start with. And Jacob Hester just walked in here during the break. He's going to be on color tonight. I remember that 2017, Hester would just blast away. Blast away. And they come pop Keelan Williams out there, who was a physical, freak. This team, I can see a lot of Josh Williams just hammering away. And then here comes Jackson, and he may not get as many carries as Williams, or maybe he will. You tell me. I like the combination of them. Williams' experience and Jackson's explosiveness.
Yeah, no, well, here's the thing about Jackson that you worry about. Let's be frank. How much of pass protection does he really know? When you don't have an inline tight end, and you're going to have tight ends you want to release. And if you run 11 personnel, one running back and what have you, and that's where Williams comes in. I think Williams starts. I think Williams gets a whole lot of touches. I want to see how Joe Sloan calling for the first year. Let's put that in. What does it look like, and how tendency-driven does he get? Meaning, percentage of plays if Caleb Jackson's on the field that you're going to throw the football. It becomes a key that he goes on there, and all of a sudden red flags go off that it's going to be a run. If you said, Gordy, who do you think is going to lead LSU in carries tonight? I think it's Caleb Jackson.
In carries?
In carries.
Okay.
I think it's going to be carries, and not necessarily snaps, because I think SC was so bad when you look at the film, and other than Bear Alexander, they've gone out and plugged in. They have 10 transfers in here. I don't know what it looks like. Now, D'Anton Lynn did a nice job at UCLA, and they were outstanding against running teams. But I'm going to make USC stop that offensive line in 28 running the football.
All right, Kyron Lacey goes from being the complimentary piece to being the guy. How much Chris Hilton tonight? Don't know. The bone bruise.
It just doesn't make sense, I mean, he's here, right? And I know I saw Chris and his family at the hotel. With you got 8 to 10 wide receivers. Why are you going to? I'm not going to put him on this field tonight, but he may. I'm sure he's going to warm up. They'll take a look and all that stuff. Again with Kyle Parker, who's really played well. And I'll tell you, the guy nobody's talking about, and you know, on Friday we do our little prediction lunch. I have some friends and what have you. The guy that's flying under the radar is C.J. Daniels.
Yeah.
I mean, he was incredible at Liberty. He's 6'4".
Yeah.
He's mature. He runs great routes. He catches the football. I mean, if you're talking about an LSU team that's going to run the football, that means they're going to go man to man. And for Nuss, you're going to. Not everything needs to be a moonshot. We got guys that can do that. Who's going to run the slant? Who's going to get separation? Daniels, as a clean route runner, I think he's going to have a nice year.
All right, favorite part, special teams.
Yep.
I know from past experience that what you see on the practice field and special teams doesn't always translate to the games. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. So here's what I saw. Much better in the return game. Xavier Thomas catches it. First of all, he catches everything. And he catches everything with forward momentum. The second thing is that Ramos, I think, has been, a really good kicker and is, coming into, third year. I'm not worried about him. The punting game concerns me greatly from what I saw out on the practice field. So with the number one returner in the country a year ago on the other side tonight, it will be imperative to kick away from him, and I don't know how comfortable I am with these guys executing.
Yeah, I mean that's $1 million question. So
probably
Blake,
see both punters too.
Yeah,
Oshendorf.
I think you see both. Oshendorf is going to kick some Aussie style. That's what I do.
Yeah.
If I'm anywhere in the middle of the football field, and if I get close when I'm trying to pin him, then let Todd hit one of those moon shots and try to pin him back there. So I think it'd be situation where it is on the football field, but in this game, in this surface, and where you feel, you feel good about what you're trying to get done defensively and make him one-dimensional. I don't want him to beat me, so kick the Aussie thing there and make it tricky for him to field it.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Got to go do it.
No, I'm with you.
I saw too many of those rugby kicks in the center of the field, on practice field. That's what worries me.
Yeah, you and I against Florida, before the Florida State game in New Orleans, we weren't talking about one of the keys is going to be just field the damn punt.
Yeah, just don't drop
fair catch
punts,
the punt. There was never any session put on that, but point taken.
Have a great call tonight. We'll check in with you on after the game.
Charlie, congrats on the new digs. They knew you were coming.
Isn't this nice?
I mean, this is unreal.
All for me, man.
Yep.
I didn't expect this.
Handy's coming. Roll out the NFL set.
I tell you what, man, the place is huge. It's first class all the way. The fans here have been since early in the morning today in the sports book. It's not even a football game here. They're in here watching soccer this morning, having mimosas at 7:30.
Yeah, I was up at 5:30. My soccer team lost. That's a bad subject. Don't bring that up.
Safe travels, G. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Shea Dixon with us to talk recruiting. That's next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shay Dixon of On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Shay Dixon, how are you?
I have a voice.
Yeah.
I've just tested it for the first time today.
Well, we've been here since Wednesday, and I know you got in just after that between the circle party on Friday night and the alumni party here and all the LSU fans. We have had a great time, but today, look, we got to get to work, but I looked down at this thing and I said, okay, 25 commitments for LSU. Shay, in previous years, just say, okay, 25, that's limit. You got 25. Take the rest of the year off. You're fine, but that's not the case anymore. So before I start asking about specific players, let's talk about numbers. Next year, you're going to be able to go to 105 on scholarship, and there's no longer, the restrictions that you once had. So what do the numbers look like for LSU?
I think right now, gosh, we're now far removed from the being under 40 scholarship players. They've built that back up.
So did that all right.
You're at 85. I think that without getting too deep into the weeds here, Charlie, is that with NIL, they'll go to rev share at some point. And I think what a lot of colleges are going to manage is, do we want to fill a full 105? Do we want 95 people on scholarship or whatever it might be, depending on how you're dispersing the money? So I don't know if they will go all the way to 105, but I will say this. Nobody in the country is built. Does that affect more in a good way than LSU? Because how often do these kids at, whether it was capped at 25 or you were trying to balance the number at 85, do they go to TCU or they go to where Virginia, Dontavian Wicks out of Plaquemine? Well, now he starts for the Packers. All these, now you take those kids. You take a flyer on a kid you can develop and know will play in 2 or 3 years, and you don't have the in-state competition for it, and that's going to be big for them. I think that's, no other school has that benefit where per capita, draft, NFL, if you can keep them home, you're churning out high numbers every year.
It's funny how you said, okay, they can go to 105 now, but they might not want to. And that's NIL, I think. Because if there was no NIL and there was no revenue share, you just said, hey, you got 105 scholarships, every coach would take them all. But now you got to pay for it, and it could possibly cause you some problems in your locker room if you pay a guy too much or too little. And so now it takes on a whole different scope here. Coaches may leave scholarships on the table voluntarily, which is just such a foreign concept to us before NIL.
Austin Thomas came back at the right time. I think you saw what they did at the Grove Collective at Ole Miss, and now here, obviously they've, with Bayou Traditions and everything else, they're on the right path, and I know they've set things up too with NIL where they're ready for that rev share. They're already kind of operating on that structure, and so are the Bamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States. Go look up who the top 5 classes are. It's those teams. LSU's ranked number 3 right now, and we'll dive into that. This is the best class, top to bottom, I've seen LSU put together in a long time. I mean, more than a decade, starting with the number 1 overall player in America at quarterback and a 5-star. But we went into this with all this, well, LSU's going to get money whipped by Texas and Miami and all these. It hasn't been the case. And I think that's a mix of they've got things figured out on the NIL front, but you still have to recruit and pitch kids. And they're still sticking to their guns. Yeah, you'll go to Michigan for Bryce Underwood, but look at last year. I think everyone but 3 kids were from Louisiana or a border state. This year's been the same. I mean, yeah, you'll go get a quarterback, you'll go get this, but Louisiana, East Texas, number 1 player in Arkansas, number 1 player in Mississippi, O-lineman, all committed to LSU. I think the rule from when you talk to coaches, they talk about driving range, Charlie. That's what they want to recruit, especially in the portal era. That's something we talk about NIL. People forget about the portal, too. When you recruit a kid from far away, he waits a year and doesn't play, he's going to go back home or somewhere where he can see his family. They can come down. If they're in that 4 to 7 hour, let's say 7 hours Dallas, right, then your family, your parents can come in every weekend. If you get homesick, you can go home. That's going to keep guys here. Frank Wilson's talked about it. That will keep guys on your roster. And that's the big thing, right? Retention, not losing everybody every year and being able to get them in and develop them.
One more thing on the NIL, and we're going to go to players. This doesn't have anything to do with name, image, and likeness when we talk about revenue sharing. These are 2 separate things. Next year, and Scott Woodward, we did an interview with him earlier this week. We'll air that later in today's show. Every player on the LSU roster is likely to make 6 figures next year. Everyone. From starting quarterback all the way down to the deep snapper. With the revenue sharing what it is and the total cost of a college tuition, and not tuition, a total cost of college
attendance.
Yeah, which is a stipend that they get every month. Every one of them will be making 6 figures.
Before, and this is still the case, but before NIL, LSU had the biggest stipend of any SEC team. There were kids transferring in who at wherever, let's say Ole Miss, and they were making, or you get $2,200 a month in stipend. LSU's is like 35 or 6 or 7 or 8. So they already were getting that a month. You added on to this, it's a good chunk of change.
It's a nice bonus.
I have no eligibility or talent, but if I did, I'd go back.
And most of your expenses are paid, if not damn near all of them. So it's a good gig if you can get it. Let's talk about specifically in this class. It starts with Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, it does.
Who's number 1 guy in the class, number 1 overall player in America. He's been locked up for a long time, and it's been a big draw for LSU to have him right at the top of this ticket.
Massive. And it's also one of those things, too, where, look, they have 2 receivers from Louisiana committed. They have Derek Meadows, who is a top 50 prospect coming out of Gorman in Vegas here. But they took a bunch of kids in on visits, 5-star receivers, and end up going to Texas or other places. And people were like, well, I thought Underwood would be this pull. We'd sign all these 5-star receivers. And we talked with Underwood at the On3 NIL convention in Nashville a few months ago, and he said, look, I'm not getting in the heads of anybody else this day and age, not in the portal era or NIL. I made my decision. Everyone else can make theirs. I'll be good with mine. And I think why he knows that is, 1, the development of Jaden Daniels and what we saw from Arizona State to now. And 2, LSU's going to have receivers. They never don't. So that's not a worry for him. And then you go right down and look at it. What was the biggest need, right? When they fired the entire defensive staff, brought it back. Yeah, you needed D tackles. That corner room was just empty. And you went and got Corey Raymond's back. There were people doubting if he still had it. Can he do it? Goes out and get DJ Pickett, the number 1 corner in America. Beats out Texas and Miami, the 2 of the deepest pocketed. Oregon, 2 of the deepest pocketed schools out there, not Texas, Oregon and Miami. So kids want to be here. And if the NIL also makes sense, they're getting them. So, boy, toss in Cade Phillips, who I promise you, they flipped from Texas. When their rankings end, he will be a top 5 corner. I think in 3-4 years, DJ Pickett and Cade Phillips will be top 15 picks in the NFL draft. You're getting back to the Stingleys, those guys where you bring them in and you expect them to play right away, develop them, and they're 3 and out in their first-round picks. And
Corey Raymond and Bo Davis, they gave them a lot of money because they needed them back. The long list of elite corners at LSU, and you just mentioned 2 guys. Look, they're going to bring talent back in here. If Brian Kelly made one mistake when he took this job, it was not keeping Corey Raymond. And probably, they had some unfortunate things happen to defensive line coaches. Okay, not all of that was his fault. They had made a run at Bo Davis before. This time they weren't going to lose him. They needed those 2 recruiting aces. And I also hear good things. You can tell me about Kevin Peoples as a recruiter as well.
They sing his praise. And look, very quietly, he's your ends coach, right? He's got 2 top 100 edge rushers committed from out of state, Jesse Harold and Damian Shanklin. Shanklin being the number 1 player in Indiana. So what this defensive staff, too, has done, Bo Davis, namely, Corey Raymond was recruiting Pickett. You mentioned Kevin Peoples, Baker. They picked up where they left off of recruiting kids that they were already on. So, yeah, they're behind the 8 ball when you get here in January, and these kids are seniors, but look at it. They're landing them. It's because they had those relationships already, and those guys were at Missouri.
Yeah.
And they get down here and put on the different polo. They were like, look, we get it on a lot more doors now, and I think bringing back Raymond and Bo Davis, they're LSU guys. They went here. They know what it means. I kind of put Blake Baker into that same camp. His wife played here, played soccer. He from Houston, went to Tulane, went to North Shore for high school, like coached here at linebacker. You mentioned Corey Raymond not being retained. Blake Baker wasn't retained. So I think, too, now it's Brian Kelly and it's whomever else is making decisions. If you make a mistake, admit it. Go back and get the guys, bring them in.
And he did.
And now look where you're at.
He did. Harlem Berry, the #1 running back in the country, from St. Martin's right there in Metairie, has been committed for a long time. Shay, I hear that he may be a little bit more versatile than just being a running back when he gets here. What do you think?
He can catch the football as well as any running back out there. He's a multi-time state track winner in the 100, and I think he's a couple times second place in the 200, but elite speed. He's the highest ranked running back out of Louisiana since Leonard Fournette. That was a decade ago, 10 years ago. So
been 10 years since Fournette was, wow. Okay.
Here comes Harlem Berry right out of New Orleans, too. 5-star #1 running back, and then DJ Pickett being a 5-star. So they were #1 at one point, and they have played this kind of jockey game with Ohio State and Bama, but have not dropped out of the top 3. I firmly believe they will finish top 3, but anywhere in the top 5, you're getting great players. And those are Georgia, and then I think Oregon are maybe 5th right now, but it's who you expect to be there, and LSU is right there. So top to bottom, it's in a really, really good class.
Yeah, LSU is #3 right now.
Oh, Auburn.
Auburn, yeah.
Hugh has said his prayers, and the checks have cleared, and Auburn's got
a lot
of
jokes I could make right now that I'm going to refrain from. Last thing, who's on the board? Give me the most important 2 or 3 guys that are remaining on the board right now, or maybe the list is longer than that. But
it's short because they're at 25 and really have filled positions well. Any moment now, I think Buddy Mathis, another defensive tackle that Bo Davis was on at Texas, he's out of Georgia, will commit. It's expected to be LSU. That'll give him 4 DTs, and you've got 2 top 100 edge rushers. Beyond that, you start to look at, okay, just fill some more holes. You need a safety. Jacob Bradford at Catholic got offered. He's one to watch. And they'll swing for the fences with guys that maybe still committed other places or whatever it is, but you're not swinging for the fences needing a home run. They've got it. The class at 25 right now is as good as you can do for a defensive staff that came in fresh, an offensive staff that was already rolling. And I think this is Brian Kelly. This staff is the best one Brian Kelly's had at LSU by far. But when you've got Frank there, you've got Austin back, you've got guys like Corey and Bo back who went here, Blake Baker, Peoples, and then on offense, we know what those guys could do. Brad Davis is a machine. I mean, a Baton Rouge native. So I think all these guys know what it means to be at LSU, to recruit LSU and the standard, and that's where they're headed. I truly believe you can't go backwards on defense, right? Technically, you could. They were 108 out of 133.
Yeah, there's not much room.
I think Blake Baker cuts that in half this year, if not more.
108 to 54.
The difference in that is about 40 to 50 yards a game, or if you're doing points, and I know that's skewed because it's not all SEC play, it was the whole season, but I think it was a field goal or 4 points, something like that.
Okay, 50 yards and 4 points. You set the total. Usually Jimmy sets the totals. I'm letting you
Jimmy's late. So
yeah, right.
Don't worry about it.
I'm going to let you set the total on that. Tell me about On 3. What's up at the site? What you got guys got coming up after the game?
Yeah, a big shout out. I mean, I've met so many members this weekend, people who listen to the show here and all that. So it's been fun. We talked about it before, and I'm guessing you've already said it. This is the best turnout I've seen for a non-national championship since the Lambeau trip, and that was a fun trip. Didn't end well, but it was a fun one.
You are a true rock star. Shaquille O'Neal was standing next to Shea earlier in the week, and some guy came up to me and says, "Who's that guy standing with Shea Dixon?" You are a rock star. Everybody raves about the work, obviously, Shea. You've been a part of this program for a long time, good friend. So thank you so much. Go enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll talk to you next week. Be a little bit different atmosphere next week, but it will be the home opener, so that's going to be cool.
Charlie, you're a pro's pro.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Shea Dixon from On 3. We'll take a break here. The BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs: reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues from Las Vegas as we get ready for the season opener between LSU and USC. Joining us now is LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward. Scott, good to see you, man. It's good to get the season rolling, ready to go. Big game. Couldn't be more excited.
Oh, exciting is right, and I love to be seen on the radio. That's the best thing, Charles, with a face like mine. So it's fun from that standpoint.
We get that joke a lot too. In the last 5 years, national championships in football, baseball, women's basketball, track and field, gymnastics, and then with the success of the Angel Reeses and the Paul Skeens and et cetera, Mondo Duplantis, the Olympics, the Major League Baseball, the WNBA, it seems like the LSU brand has never been stronger.
Yeah, and I knew that, obviously having been born and raised here, I knew it was capable, and I always knew it was there. It's just a matter of it coming out and shining and being now exposed. And I just think it's so deserving for our people of this great state and of this great community and of Tiger Nation it's, hey, I'm glad and I want people to get used to it. And, it's because of them we're so strong, and it's because of their support. No matter who it is, listeners, people that are, just passive, or people that are just hardcore to the max, man, keep doing what you're doing because you're making us great. And it makes everyone around us great, whether it is Angel Reese or whether it is Jaden Daniels or Mondo Duplantis or you name it. Go down the list. They'll all credit it to LSU and to the people of LSU.
This is a football season that we're going into that'll be different from any we've ever seen. 16-team league, 12-team playoffs. So let's start with the 16-team league. We've known this was coming for a while now, but how does it change your day-to-day operations, how you approach budgeting, scheduling, really anything now that Oklahoma and Texas are in the league?
Yeah, it really doesn't, Charles. I mean, more things that are bigger and more external are what really drives us as far as how much revenue we have to generate and how much expenses we have to spend and or cut. And so, for us, adding Texas and Oklahoma is a net benefit. It increases the revenue, it increases our fan excitement, it increases, what and how we like to do things and where to go. And I think our fans are going to have a good time going to, Oklahoma City and to Austin and seeing new things, and vice versa, them coming here and seeing things and make the competition even better. And that's, as we say in football at practice, iron sharpens iron. And I think we're going to be, as a league, net better because of these additions.
When it comes to the 12-team playoff and how much revenue that's generating, and I know that this is the first year, but does it affect, how you schedule in football? Does it change how you think about budgeting, that revenue that is coming in? We're going to get to the expenses in a minute, I know, but does it change any of your thinking at all?
Always, and we think about these things going out 10 years and going out, one day sometimes, and we look at them and see what and how they affect things. But sure we do. I think this really, obviously from a simplistic standpoint, just a logical standpoint, is when you have more opportunities to make the playoffs, you have probably more chance for a slip up during the regular season. So there's not as heightened of pressure, but it's in my opinion, it's a net positive.
Revenue sharing is coming to college athletics. A year from now, there's going to be revenue sharing with athletes. Without asking you how much money you got to raise a day, because I know that's a big part of this job, there's estimated to be a $21.5 million revenue share with the power conferences and their student athletes. So what kind of challenge is that for you to essentially find that money?
Yeah, we've been thinking about it for a long time, obviously, with the advent of this lawsuit that we being the NCAA and the SEC, were in violation of the antitrust statutes of the federal government, and it gave us a problem, and we had to figure out a solution. So here again, you try to turn a net negative into a positive. And I think that, we're learning as we go, whether it was the first iteration of NIL with collectives and now moving into NIL being legit deals and rev sharing being at the institution, I think it's a better thing because we're all going to be doing very similar practices in the Power Four.
Is this going to mean things like naming rights for stadiums, logos on the field, logos on uniforms, and things that are more associated with professional sports, but now they are coming to college athletics?
Sure. It's going to be a consideration, just like everything, and it has to be a net positive. But yeah, it's pushing us that way as we have to become more and more thoughtful and creative about generating revenue. We have to put all things on the table.
Scholarship limits are also being changed. And for football, this is as big a change as there have been in over 30 years. Going to 105 from 85, what does that do to how you budget for that and how you account for that? And what does it do to the future of walk-ons, which has been a hot topic?
Yeah, I don't think it changes anything for walk-ons because it's not scholarship limits. I know what you were talking about. You kind of misstated. It's roster limits. And so, we're going to be able to do what we want to do on the scholarship side, and I think we will consider doing different things. And it's just about, once we get into it, to see how we have to manage our budget.
And with the revenue sharing and the money that goes to the players, how does it get divided? I know that's been a hot topic too.
Yeah, that's where Coach Kelly and obviously Coach McMahon, Coach Mulkey, and all the folks, all of our coaches that deal with revenue sharing and what and how we do it and how we allocate it. And I know Austin Thomas is spending a lot of time over in football thinking about looking at a bunch of different models and see from a percentage-wise standpoint, what the NFL teams do to pay a certain position and look at certain things. All this stuff is going to be looked at very, very closely, but very differently, because we're similar to the NFL in a lot of ways, but we're not in a lot of ways. We only have these kids usually for 3 years or less sometimes, very rarely 4 or 5. And so it's how you do that, whereas an NFL roster, you might have, I just saw Folk, the kicker, is in year 17. And it's just different, and you have to look at it differently. And so we'll do it. We'll manage it. We have capable staff, capable coaches, and change scares everyone. But in opportunity there is, in chaos there is opportunity.
And what are the ramifications of revenue sharing when it comes to Title IX? We get this question a lot. There's not a football equivalent in women's sports. How does Title IX affect revenue sharing?
Yeah, those are a lot of uncertainties we don't know, but I think we're going down the path of where I think hopefully common sense kicks in, and it's whether Title IX is applied to revenue sharing or not, and how it's applied, and what we do. Obviously, there's going to be plenty of scholarships, plenty of opportunities, and we are big proponents of Title IX and what it has done positively. But we're going to be smart and prudent about how we look at it and do it going forward, especially with revenue share.
The NIL landscape is constantly changing. Kind of give us an update as to where LSU stands with that from a revenue standpoint, from distribution standpoint, and the university acting as a conduit to third-party deals.
Yeah, people have to be very careful, and myself included, about vernacular, Charles. We really got to think about what revenue shares is versus what collectives were. Collectives were essentially what revenue share are going to be. We're going to be able to do it without there having to be quid pro quo. Whereas future NIL deals are going to have to be market proven, and they're going to have to be tested in the marketplace to see what and how they perform. So if I pay a spokesperson, say, let's just make something up from last year. I had Jaden Daniels do a testimonial for a business, and someone wanted to do it for $1 million because they loved LSU. But Drew Brees did one a year ago, and they only paid him $100,000. Someone's antenna is going to go up, and that deal's not going to be viewed as legitimate. So it's going to have to be market-driven, future NIL deals. And like I said, I believe that the rev share, which comes from the institution now or next year, will take the place of what collectives have done in the past, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so we're looking at what, when you take scholarship dollars and revenue sharing dollars, NIL dollars, it's a pretty good time to be a college athlete. Where you get the total cost of a scholarship, which was put in some 10, 12 years ago, I believe. This is a pretty good gig now.
Oh, yeah. You talk to old L Club members, and they just shake their head. Boy, I wish I were here now. We were laughing about that the other day. There's no question about it. It's a great time to be a student athlete, especially at LSU.
Scott Woodward is our guest. We'll take a break and come back. It's 100 years of Tiger Stadium, and what's the next big project on the LSU campus? We'll do that when we return. Live from Las Vegas, this is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Orderlocks, presented by William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. For auto, home, life insurance in the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas, William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
And we return here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay. We'll have more of our conversation with Scott Woodward, LSU Athletic Director, a little bit later on in the show. Jimmy, yesterday, first full weekend of college football. What did we see yesterday? First of all, biggest surprise to you yesterday. Just pick a game. The biggest. Wow, didn't see that coming.
It's kind of hard. Expected a low-scoring game with Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Got that. In game, I could kind of see that Notre Dame was starting to control the line of scrimmage. They did, and so it's the first game for Elko, but Notre Dame's a little bit better. It's going to be virtually impossible to keep them out of the playoff now with that weak schedule that they have. This was their toughest game. This is the game, only game that they would be underdog in. I thought Texas would have a little bit more of a look-ahead spot versus Michigan this week. They didn't, 52-0. They look good up front as well. I thought maybe that South Dakota State might be able to play with Oklahoma State a little bit more. They were. I was surprised West Virginia was so sloppy. Don't overreact to ugly offensive football this week. But man, they couldn't even get the snaps right. Hitting the motion guy. Multiple times.
And it was before the rain delay too. They were sloppy early.
Yes,
they were sloppy
early. But that game. Sometimes quarterbacks develop. Allaire looks better.
Much better. Much better.
Oh, he looks better. And you should.
Sure.
That's why. And I thought McCord looked good for Syracuse. The guy that they pushed out at Ohio State. I mean, it's like they scapegoating him or something. I mean, he looked good. I still think that Ohio State with McCord's second year would have been a better option than Will Howard in his first year. How many times do we have to see the second year with the program? And so Allaire is there. He showed me nothing from start to finish that he was developing, but he looked better yesterday afternoon in Morgantown.
Biggest surprise to me yesterday, not that Miami won the game, but in how much more physically dominant they were than the University of Florida. That yardstick gives you, it was better than 2-1, and it gives you no indication, unless you watch the game, just how much Miami bullied Florida up front. And we've been talking about Billy Napier. We don't pay a whole lot of attention to preseason, all conference teams and stuff like that when it comes to handicapping, but I just looked at this 2 years in a row. It's like, there are no Gators. I mean, on an all Southeastern Conference preseason team, where are the Gators? The first and second team, they had one guy. I'm sorry, that job is too good. There's too many resources. There's too much recruiting, and they just don't have it. They don't have players.
That's just one indicator. That's, we know how those teams can be a little bit more exaggerated by the teams that are expected to do so well. I'm sorry, Nick Saban can't take that roster against that schedule and have a winning season this year, so certainly Napier won't. But the first game, they're still fresh, before you get into their depth. And I know Miami, they're always seem to be the individual parts seem to be more impressive than the whole, but they dominated both sides of the line of scrimmage in the swamp. Because Cam Ward was okay, the highest paid man in football, but still he was sat back there with a rocker. Remember the one where he rushed 3 and had the spy? I mean, I'm still waiting for him to throw the ball.
You got to give him credit because he did what they gave him. He completed 70% of his passes for over 350 yards. That's only been done twice, I think, in the last 5 years. But my goodness, how much time do you have? I mean, there were times where you would look there, he would have 8 seconds or more to throw the football. I mean, come on. Billy Napier said after the game he was embarrassed. I'm sorry, he's got no chance. This is officially a failed experiment with him as the head coach, and it's a matter of when, not if.
And we've always put that program, that job, near the top because they produce more. The Florida high schools produce more NFL players than any other state, including Texas and California, which have much more population than they do. That's the best football they got going. We remember Howard Snellenberg. He just wanted the tip, and and they were putting out national championship teams. But to be the only SEC team in the state of Florida, but Florida administratively, they have to figure out if they want to take that step. Like USC is a good example. When they went to get Lincoln Riley, it's hard to get the successful coach out of Oklahoma. It's hard to do. So you better come with something, and they did. But Florida, their budget, their collective in this new era, it's fallen behind because Napier didn't get it done recruiting, okay, but I don't know how much help he had as well. I don't know if he has as much as Ole Miss is NIL budget, which it's part of the coach to have that persuasive, personality to get it out of you, to get the confidence of your boosters, to get them to contribute that kind of money. So, but think about it. For Ole Miss to clearly have a better roster than Florida,
and they do.
That shouldn't happen.
By good
and do you think some of it's, Charlie, because Spurrier didn't need to, spend all day, all night recruiting? He got good players, but he developed so much, and he was on the cutting edge, and what he was running, not a whole lot of people were. So he didn't rely on, the recruiting aspect of the job. Is it because they got away with that for so long?
Well, fair enough, but Urban Meyer did recruit very well down there.
Yes.
And so it's a little bit closer to the current day. And maybe you can say, well, look, Tim Tebow made up for a lot. I get it. But, no, there were some studs on that team. So they did it recently. I don't know if the NIL era is going to benefit them, at least the way they're doing things now.
And then we know there's a gap between Georgia and Clemson. Clemson finally had it figured out in the old way, and then they changed the rules on them. And, it's you don't want a roster build with one hand tied behind your back. But Klubnik was okay. He hit, but you could see early, man, all right, he made that throw, but is it that going to be that hard to get yards all day? And so for them to have under 200 total yards, same old for Georgia, tons of speed. They tackle well. And I thought Clemson really tackled well, especially in the secondary early on when they were kind of trading punches. But, man, once they leaned on them a little bit, got into their depth, got deeper into the game, and also Georgia's offense creating a little bit more of cohesion. They started to pop some chunk plays, but I didn't think it was quite that wide of a gap between Georgia and Clemson.
Les Miles refused to change his offense. He was an old-school coach, and he just simply would not change because he'd had so much success with it, and eventually it cost him his job. Dabo is an old-school coach. This is the way he wants to do it, and if he doesn't change, it'll eventually cost him his job. It may be, years down the road, but you can't win like that. I'm sorry. This is just, you can be against paying the players, you can be against the transfer portal all you want, but if you don't play by the accepted rules now, you're going to get left behind. And he's still got some leftovers from before this started 3 years ago, but the gap's going to widen.
I mean, it's like he's playing in a PGA event and he's got half his clubs.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
you got to leave half your irons.
You don't have to be too heavy. You don't have to be mercenary approach like a Miami or A&M and stuff. But not to have and fill in your gaps. You don't make 100% hits in your recruiting efforts. And then you're also getting in older players as well. So it just doesn't – he can be as hard-headed as he wants. Nobody's arguing his success. But this might be the only thing that could cost him his job, just refusing to adapt. If he's refusing to adapt, I mean, he's not going to be able to compete. And listen, there's going to be a lot of teams that can't compete with Georgia.
They're good. And then Beck looks fantastic. He looks more mobile to me than he did a year ago. Going to be probably the first pick in the draft. Vandy, biggest win since when?
Well,
when they beat Auburn, maybe when Gameday went there.
They sure did. They did beat Auburn.
I don't remember what year that was. It's been at least 15 years. That was
James Franklin.
Yeah. Now, that was his biggest surprise to me because they went toe-to-toe with Virginia Tech. I mean, they ran the football well. They were balanced. They got some defensive time. Now, Virginia Tech reeled them in a little bit, but they held tough. When Virginia Tech tied the game, didn't you think they were going to win? I did. Yeah. And Vandy took the punch, came back, and won the game
in
overtime. Yeah, and that was impressive to me. I didn't expect – if Miami was the biggest surprise to me yesterday, Vandy was number 2, and maybe 1A.
Well, what do they have and what a lot of people want? But he's not going to – he's too small, doesn't have a big arm. But you know what? He can play college football. And we saw that you can win that many games in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm sorry. Jerry Kill's outstanding, but Diego Pavia is a good – a little Doug Flutie kind of. I mean, right out the chute, he's running the quarterback reads. He loves to run. He's quick. He's decisive. He's a true dual threat. I mean, he could beat you with his arm. He could beat you with his legs. He's just undersized, but he's good. He's good. He's got a lot of starts under his belt. And I will say, though, I didn't think it would translate to against a Virginia Tech. They're just doing it against Mountain West opposition. But he looked good. He looked good, and he was kind of keyed up. SEC start, Power 5, Power 4 start, the whole thing. He played well too yesterday, and so he said it gives Vandy a little spark.
LSU, a 4-point favorite over USC. The total has climbed all the way to 66.5 now. Expecting a lot of points here. These two defenses were poor a year ago. Both changed coordinators. 2 fourth-year quarterbacks that have waited their turn. 2 high-profile coaches who both are in their 3rd year. What do you think about tonight's game?
LSU went after both of them. I mean, and it was like, who do you like more? And it's interesting. And is Lincoln Riley ever going to have a defensive front or at least play complementary football with his offense, his specialty, so that's going to allow them to compete at the highest level? Not to this point. And they've brought some guys in, some highly recruited guys, but they aren't performing at that way. So I think it's way more than just changing your defensive coordinators to get better results on that side of the football. Both of these rosters need to improve with their personnel on that side. And LSU's got to lean on them first to see if they can create any resistance, just rushing the football. They got a good offensive line, and man, they should kind of have their way. And so that's the first thing. And you talk about if you can rush the football, and I think that Jackson and others, Williams, we're going to get way more running back rushing production than we did last year where Daniels it was him. it was him. Pete Jenkins had to come in midseason and say, hey, at least just hand it off to the running back. Let's try and keep our defensive front off the field to give them a little bit of a chance instead of getting the snaps up there right now. I think it's flag football tonight. I think LSU's very good, much better on offense and defense, and I know that USC is. So, might have some kinks early, but I think there's going to be a lot of chunk plays in this one tonight. So I like LSU to win, but a high-scoring game. Yeah, I'm with the market on this one, going with the over as well. Don't forget our friends over at Crane Insurance, Crane Allstate Insurance. Come with the good hands, people. If your rates have gone up on your HOs, call our agency and get the one and only Jimmy Ott special. Our rates are hard to beat, and Allstate is trying to capture the market here in Louisiana. Ask about our bundle special as well when bundling your home and auto. Give us a call at 421-3133, 421-3133, and come to the agency that is one of the top sellers in Louisiana and show how your agency is like a concierge service for all of your insurance needs. Breaking the trend of your traditional insurance agencies by putting our hands on in-person review of your insurance needs that can be done over the phone. That's right. It is Lewis Crane, Allstate Insurance Agency.
Live from the BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay, this is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. After Further Review on Game Day. After Further Review is heard weekday afternoons at 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from AFR, here's Matt Moscona.
And we're bringing in am Matt Moscona from AFR. Before that, we want to tell you that today's show is also brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Try the new parboiled rice now in your stores in Baton Rouge. Supreme Rice, delicious product, been around since the 1930s, whether it's the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine. Supreme Rice is a perfect complement to any meal, whether it be crawfish etouffee, red beans and rice, a gumbo later in the year. Supreme Rice is going to give you more for your money. Louisiana farmers, we've leaned on them for so long. We want to make sure that they have the same benefits in the future that they've had in the past. So we're part of the Climate Smart program at Supreme Rice, which promotes water conservation and the reduction of methane emissions. And check them out online at SupremeRice.com. Scone, you've been a busy guy, man. How's the trip been so far for you?
Yeah, try to balance fun and work. So it's like you never really, you wade into the fun pool. You don't jump into the fun pool. You know what I mean? Because you got to be close enough to the steps to where if you got to go, you got to go. Like, I was just at lunch with my wife and some friends, and Bo called me and was like, hey, 2 minutes. So I just ran through the Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, catch me breath. You want me to do another live spot?
I was doing some breath work while you were talking about Supreme Rice. Great company, by the way. Yeah. So, but yes, been a great trip. Interesting. I think you've probably seen the same. USC folks are just getting here today. It's I think this is a day trip for them. Kind of like if LSU was playing in Houston, you could drive 4 hours and go. And so there's a lot of SC people. I'm very curious to see what the dynamic will be like in the stadium. The game itself,
we talked about all of this stuff quite a bit. I mean, August is always a long month, man. It's a lot of pregame stuff. But we're here now. 2 great offenses a year ago, 2 bad defenses a year ago, 2 new defensive coordinators, 2 third-year head coaches. Pick a topic on why you think this game will go the way you think it'll go.
Well, I think it's none of the things that you just mentioned, which all are true. I think when all else is equal, I tend to look at quarterback, coach, venue, which I think all those 3 are probably equal as well. I don't know if you agree with that. I mean, venue, I think will probably be a split crowd. Quarterback, I think it's pick your guy. Coach, Kelly's been doing it longer, but Lincoln Riley's certainly excellent at what he does. So I say, what is the deciding factor? And I think it's LSU's offensive line. I mean, if I were to ask you, I think you'd agree with this, but take every position group for SC offense, defense, every position group for LSU offense, defense. Okay, if you're just ranking position groupings, I think we'd probably all say LSU's offensive line is the best position group for either team, either side of the ball. So if LSU plans to try to shorten the game, line up behind this offensive line, run Josh Williams and Caleb Jackson, I think they're going to have a lot of success being able to do that. And if they do, I think that's why LSU probably wins a close game.
The thing that bothers me the most about this is I worry that there is because I think this is a one-score game.
I agree.
That there is a special teams play that is made, and I got to get myself used to the fact that LSU's got a working punt return game now. But USC had the best punt return game. You went out to as many practices as they allowed, okay? Yeah. LSU special teams, the punting game is shaky.
Yeah.
If they make a mistake there, I worry that could be the difference in the ballgame.
Yeah, Zachariah Branch was really good. What's interesting is, so he was a freshman All-America a year ago. 2 years ago, Xavion Thomas was a freshman All-America punt returner at Mississippi State. Now he's at LSU. So it's so weird because, I mean, Hanny for 30 years, it was just like, all right, who's next? Next return. It just go from Kennison to Kevin Falk to Dominic Davis to Skylar Green to Patrick Peterson, name it. It was just the next guy. I remember before the Florida State game in the Dome, I did this whole piece on my radio show where I congratulated Malik Neighbors on being the next in a long line of great punt returners. And, of course, he muffed 2 in that game and then never did it again.
He could have been, right? He was really good.
He could have been, but he muffed 2 and then never put him back there again. So I get it. And now it's been a work in progress for 2 years, but you actually have someone. I am curious, though. So here's what I think will happen based on, as you mentioned, going out to practice and seeing a bunch. I think situationally, let's say LSU's at their own 20, they go 3 and out, and you need to boom one. I think that's Peyton Todd. Let's say your drive stalls around midfield. You want to coffin corner one, try to pin him inside the 10. I think that's Blake Oxendorf. He'll rugby style it. I think that's how they divvy up the duties, unless if someone proves they deserve every punt or another proves they're incapable of delivering the thing they need. So I watched Blake Oxendorf kick one 70 yards in the air. It would have been 60, right, because of the from the line of scrimmage, but from where it left his foot to where it landed was 70 yards in the air. I mean, he's got a leg. It's incredible. I think both guys do, but the consistency is what they're looking for. But I agree with you, man. You shank one, you low line drive it. Zachariah Branch catches it on the run coming toward the line of scrimmage. That's a problem.
You rugby style it right to the guy that's going to crush you. You've been with all of these practices you've gone to. Give us a name of a guy that maybe not a lot of people are talking about, an under the radar guy who could make an impact tonight.
I guess I'll go both sides of the ball. Defensively, I don't think we've said anything about Jordan Gilbert. But LSU was so bad at safety a year ago. And God bless, we saw it in the first game with Andre Sam. He just bad angles and just wasn't ready to play at this. I'm not trying to, bag on the young guy. Just athletically, he wasn't at this level. Jordan Gilbert is a starting SEC safety. And you were so bad at safety a year ago. Just having that presence on the back end, I think, makes you immediately better. I don't know that you see a guy stuff the stat sheet, but he's going to make LSU's defense undeniably better. I know offensively we are talking about Kyron Lacey, Mason Taylor. We're looking for all, the offensive line and Nuss. I mean, is it okay to say C.J. Daniels?
Not only is it okay, it's something I'll agree with.
Well, I guess you're saying off the radar. I don't know if he's an off-the-radar guy, but, he was a guy that came in from Liberty where he was a 1,000-yard receiver a season ago, and I think there's been this question, would it translate to the SEC? His ability to catch the ball, his size and physicality surprised me. I didn't realize how big and physical a receiver he is. But the other thing, too, Hanny, is I just think Garrett trusts him. I can't tell you the number of times that we'd be watching these team periods and they have a 4th and 8 or a 3rd and 8, and there's C.J. Daniels over the middle, in traffic, catching a ball for 16 yards. It's just like I think Garrett trusts him that he puts it near him, he's going to catch it. So I think C.J. Daniels is not only going to have a big night tonight, I think he's going to have a big season for LSU.
I thought you were going to say Kylan Jackson. I really did. It might be a little bit further down the season.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Or Deshaun Spears. I thought you might know one of those two guys.
Deshaun Spears, I think, I've said this many times, I think it could be like Eric Reed's freshman year where he's starting by the end of the year. Because, listen, if there's one spot on the defense where I don't think there's a starting spot locked up, I think it's at the safety opposite Gilbert. It's going to be Jordan Allen tonight, but it would not surprise me at all if Kylan Jackson or Deshaun Spears ends up winning that job by the end of the season. We have seen, though, Kylan Jackson run some in that star role. And, they've used him as a blitzing safety in that star role where Major Burns is starting. So, Blake, look, this much I'm certain of. Blake Baker's going to play 20 guys on his defense. He's going to have to, because I don't think there's anybody that is just, aside from Perkins, that's a surefire NFL star, All-America caliber player. So he's going to do it with numbers and looks and creativity, and I think Kylan Jackson is going to be a big part of that.
You know what I think when I look at those two safeties, those two freshman safeties? Man, those guys are big.
Yeah,
they look the part.
They look like
big
it's
freshmen.
A lot. Hanny, Gabe Relaford and Kalaj Cobbins are going to be awesome players. There are guys on this defense you can look and say, that's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, when LSU's had guys, that's what it looks like. And they're there. They're just young and they'll get along. But I don't know how much to expect from the freshmen, at least not tonight or early in the season.
Whiskey and wine here?
Yeah, me and T-Bob will be here, so I'll have to leave the game end of the third quarter, I guess, walk back over. So we'll see how the Wi-Fi is around the stadium while I watch it on my phone to walk back over here.
All right, well, I'll take the baton from you guys after the game. We'll be up late tonight after LSU and USC. Enjoy the rest of the day, man. Good to see you.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, we'll take a break, come back here with more. Second part of our interview with LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward when we come back here. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving
98.1.
Brandon Holly here. Siding, windows, even doors. ReliefWindows.com.
Eagle 98.1. WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues as we continue to get ready for LSU and USC. LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward is our guest. All right, Scott, it's still a week away, but the home opener is coming. This is 100 years of Tiger Stadium. I live not terribly far, so I go by. I see the work being done. When fans come in next week for the home opener, I know there's a lot of changes and a lot of things that they're going to be excited about. So what can they expect?
Well, obviously, the new lighting and new scoreboards are really making, I would say, putting icing on a beautiful cake in Tiger Stadium, just upgrading the care and concern that we have for the place and how beautiful it is. I saw it Saturday. It looks fantastic. New ribbon boards. Like I said, the new lighting and the new LED boards are just incredible. And I think it's going to be continued to improve the fan experience. I think that's the most important thing. And then here again, shout out to the state. We always like to bang on them when they do bad things, but obviously they're paving Nicholson Drive, and hopefully it'll be good and ready for our opening game.
People that have listened to my daily show know that I've been beating that drum pretty hard. So whatever you had to do with that, I appreciate that. Finally some pavement on that road. Okay, so the new basketball arena, very much in the preliminary stages, but kind of give us an update. The last, we heard publicly was still talking about site, still talking about design, still talking about a lot of things. Where is that project now?
Yeah, nowhere near new anything as far as that goes. Just so your listeners know that don't know, because you obviously know a lot and I know way too much, is that we're really looking at doing this differently, and it's a new facility, and it's going to be a public-private venture, kind of very similar to what University of Texas did in Austin with the Moody Center, if people are very curious to go see that, where we pick a private partner and we negotiate a contract to develop a stadium to do really interesting things, multiple things. Obviously, the first and most important thing is that it takes care of LSU and our needs for our basketball programs, and obviously our other varsity sports programs that are going to participate in there. But the most important thing is to get it right, and that's what we're in the process of doing. Thinking about it, making sure the design's right, making sure that our partner is right, and who and what we do this project with. It's no different than we've built dorms here with private-public funding, and we'll continue that negotiation. We'll have very good, hopefully, news coming forward in the next few months.
So because it is a joint venture, public and private, the PMAC is not going anywhere. It's still going to be a very necessary facility for practice, offices, et cetera.
Spot on. It's going to be a facility that we use and that we repurpose and that we do a lot of things at, and it's still going to be kind of ground zero around most of our other sports.
Location, we any closer on that?
Yeah, for the arena, I think we've settled more towards down Nicholson, where across from Alex Box, where we think there's a lot of room and a lot of growth. And as we know from you raising hell and me giving them pats on the back about Nicholson Drive, is that people haven't figured it out, but it's right in front of their nose. This is the new corridor, for LSU. When we went to school, Charles, it was Highland. It's now Nicholson, and we know that, and this is going to be where the future of LSU is, and we want to be part of that, and I think an arena there makes sense.
We hear a lot about a retail district that is going to go around it. Is the university a part of that or just kind of next door to it?
No, the university is a part of it, the foundation and what and how we interact with them and what we do with that property that is LSU is a very important part of what the general student experience is part of. And that's what I think the advantage we have over Austin is they were landlocked and didn't have any land to do any developing. And I think we're going to have the potential to do a lot of developing and a lot of good things, not only for our students, but as for the community as well.
There's a lot of work going on over at Alex Box Stadium. Give us an update on what's happening there.
Yeah, you probably know more than me, Charles. I'll chuckle. Obviously, everyone knows we're moving the bullpens and expanding our seating over there, and just doing general maintenance and cleanup and what and how we do it. But those are the two big things: is moving the bullpens outside of the field of play.
When we did this a year ago, you were talking about the recovery center that was being built. It's finished, and not for nothing, but got through fall camp in pretty good shape injury-wise. So I'm sure that, knock on wood, that helped. But a little bit about why that was necessary and how many other schools had done that and what that does for the football team.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Coach Kelly's a huge believer in sports science and recovery and obviously getting stronger and healthier and doing all these things that we do. And we were very deficient in that piece. We were behind on recovery. We were good at nutrition, good at very good at strength training and all the things that we do there to prepare. And obviously our training room is second to none, in my opinion. But we were deficient in what we call recovery. And so we built an addition to this that added a recovery room with a student athlete kind of facility where they could hang out and be more efficient with their time. And so what we got is just stupendous. I couldn't be more happy with the design and what we have done over there. And thanks to the generosity of our great donors and the TAF for stepping up and doing actually. Now, Charles, we're getting old. This is the third phase of that facility, from when it was originally Nick Saban's dream to have a football operations center that we operated and did well in. We did a second iteration of it, and now this is the third. And I think the reviews have been fabulous, and not only from our donor base, but our kids just love it. And I think it's going to make us even better and more competitive going forward.
All right, this is my favorite part. This is when we get to talk about football scheduling. Your football coach wants to go to Ireland. We just watched a game in Ireland last week between Florida State and Georgia Tech. They said they took 40,000 pounds of equipment over there. So it's an undertaking if you want to do that. They said they spent over a year planning it. So how do you feel about playing in Dublin?
I'm going to quote Junior Soprano from The Sopranos, and I'm not going to say it foully. He says, and I want to date Angie Dickinson.
Right.
But, it's a great idea. Coach is always positive and good about thinking about things, and if it makes sense for us it would be something great for our team and as importantly for our fans to see and do something differently. And if we think we can make something like that work and do it, we will. But it's something that we are definitely researching and doing our diligence on.
Let's talk about something that might happen sooner than that, and that's a 9th game in the SEC. Yeah. This has been on the table for a while. I know you're in favor of it. I know Coach Kelly's in favor of it. How much closer is this to becoming a reality, and is the big sticking point ESPN and how many dollars are involved with increasing the conference football schedule?
Yeah, you just stated it, and I think it is a big point, but we have to make sure we do it, and we do it right, and it makes sense for us. But, yeah, that's my belief.
And a timeline, is it a year away? Is it 2 years away? If you had to guess, or...
It's hard to guess, but yeah, if I had to, you put a hard date on it, I would say it might be 2 years away.
Week 0, something we've talked about in the past, something that you said you're open to. With a 12-game, 12-team playoff, a bye later in the season might be very valuable. An opponent that you can get in here before, maybe say a Clemson, might work. Any more thoughts about Week 0?
Yeah, I'm a believer that the more flexibility you have in scheduling, but it goes further than that, Charles, and that's what I want to make it clear. We need to think about it year-round. What we do with the recruiting schedules, what we do with the class schedules, how it all works and joins together. But yeah, I think Week 0 is a no-brainer, and how and we use that flexibility not only for the regular season, but as you mentioned, for the playoff season through the holidays, and make sure it works for our student athletes.
Well, since you talked about the year-round calendar, that segues into the next topic, which is the transfer portal and the transfer portal windows. Something else that there are a number of different proposals on the table. What makes sense? What do you not like about how it is now, and what would you like to see changed?
Yeah, I think in the news there was the latest change in portals where you just had a December portal. I think it's a great idea. I think it's smart, and I think it doesn't need to be a free-for-all. I think the more controlled and the more guardrails you have around it, the better it is.
Have you thought about what a December playoff game in Tiger Stadium might look like?
I don't think anyone outside of Tiger Stadium could imagine. That's all I can say. Just with a big smile on my face. It would be really incredible.
Rather have the bye, but if we play in here, that'd be pretty good too, right?
Oh, no, I'd take the rather play in here, not me. I don't want to be 1 through 4. I want to be 5 through 8. I say that jokingly. I'll take either one of them.
So this football pregame show, I probably should ask you a football question. I know you've been out to practice, and you're as big a football guy as anybody. So what do you think about this team and its upcoming season?
Yeah, I really like the chemistry of this team. It really feels like a team where everyone really likes each other. The offense and the defensive guys really spend a lot of time together. I don't think we're going to have Superman anymore coming out of the building, and you know who I'm talking about, number 5. Who's now in the capital of our country. But I think we're going to have a very, very good team that's going to play hard, play for their coaches, play for their teammates, and play for LSU. And I expect good things. We're going to have some, in my opinion, some close games, but I think we're going to be fit, and we're going to play damn good and play damn hard.
Always good to catch up with you, Scott. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for doing this, Charles.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with more live from Las Vegas, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret in town is out.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Scouting Report. Presented by Demco. Providing safe, reliable, and competitively priced energy services to co-op members since 1938.
Welcome back in Eagle 98.1 Game Day. We are just mere hours away from kickoff. LSU and USC Tigers once again in that standalone game Sunday night. Looking for a win. It's been 4 straight season opening losses for LSU. If they're going to get a win, it'll come at the expense of the USC Trojans. Jim Nagy back with us here for another season. Happy to have him, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. Jim, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Doing great. Can't believe we're back, Matt. But here we are, excited for another college season.
Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation, obviously, around this one. This is 2 of the biggest brands in college football. They get the standalone game. It's a spot that LSU's familiar with, 3rd year in a row. I kind of wanted to start there with a little bit of a general question, Jim. How big is that in terms of scouting? Like, how many more eyes from a scouting standpoint does the standalone time slot actually get on this game?
It's big. You'll have a lot of upper-level NFL guys go to these games. Like I was at 2 years ago. I was at the Florida State LSU game when it was in New Orleans, and that press box was packed with NFL scouts at it. So yeah, this will be there's a few of them opening weekend. That Miami-Florida game will have a lot of guys. The Texas A&M Notre Dame game, I heard there's going to be 5 general managers at that game. But yeah, this is big for those guys, and really for the exposure that this weekend, but also when you play, good on good, when you play other good teams. I mean, this is going to be a game that all scouts, when you're watching tape over the course of the year, you're watching LSU tape, everyone's going to want to look at that USC game because they have some players. Then you're always trying to find matchups when you're scouting players, whether it's a defensive, wide out on a corner or a tackle against a pass rusher. You look for those big matchups, and they usually happen in these big games.
Let's go ahead and dive right into it then. There's going to be a lot of offense. I think at least a lot of people are expecting a lot of offense. You look at these 2 teams, Jim, and we've made the comparison all offseason. It's kind of like looking in a mirror. There's a lot of similarities between LSU and USC as they head into year 3 for each coach. I mean, new defensive staff, quarterback. There's a lot. And a lot of people are expecting plenty of offense and a lot of flash. But LSU's strength is the offensive line, and Lincoln Riley earlier this week mentioned that the defensive line is the unit he's most excited to see on his team. So let's start there, and let's start with Bear Alexander. Of course, transferred in from Georgia a couple years ago, highly touted guy coming out of high school. Maybe hasn't quite reached the star power level that I think many thought he would, but an incredible player. When it's going right for Bear Alexander, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. He's a guy we're still kind of waiting to see fulfill that 5-star hope, right? And again, that's why the star system can be dangerous, because these guys kind of get labeled out of high school as big-time players. Has Bear shown that yet at the college level? No, he hasn't. Are there flashes where you see some of that high-end talent? Certainly. So, he's your classic 3 technique. He's kind of an undersized defensive tackle. He's athletic, so. This is going to be a big prove-it game for him. I mean, he's going up against arguably one of the top 2 or 3 offensive lines in college football, and if he can be disruptive and get to the quarterback, that's going to be big. If he can get to Garrett Nussmeier, and then another name I'd throw at you, who's kind of from our way here east of the Mississippi, is Jamil Muhammad, who started his career at Vandy as a quarterback and then went to Georgia State as a linebacker, and now they've got him coming off the edge. So that's another guy that's going to test those tackles for LSU. Just a couple names, but if they don't get to Garrett Nussmeier and they let Garrett just sit back there and chuck it, in clean pockets all night, it could be a long night for USC.
I'm glad you brought up Muhammad. He led USC in sacks last year. I'm looking at what is it that kind of makes him. I mean, that's a pretty impressive transition that he went throughout his college career. It just kind of the athleticism of a guy like that and the challenge he does present to LSU on the outside.
Well, it's certainly unique. You don't get too many quarterbacks flipping to the defensive side of the ball and becoming decent players. Usually those guys aren't tough or rugged enough to do that. But he is a good athlete, and that's what you see. And he's undersized too. So he and Bear, for their respective positions, are both kind of undersized guys. But he is a good athlete. He flashed a lot on tape last year. He was eligible to play in the Senior Bowl. We did a lot of work on him last year. He's one of those guys you can see closing bursts. When he's got a chance to get to the quarterback, like if he clears the corner, he can go get it. It's a really unique background from going from an SEC quarterback, down to the group of 5 level, making the move to linebacker, and now all the way out to the West Coast and reinvent himself kind of as an outside linebacker. So he's a unique player, and he needs to have a good game this weekend for USC to stay in it.
Yeah, it's true. Not just the not just the quarterback to linebacker, but East Coast to West Coast. He's well traveled young man, Jamil Muhammad. Okay, let's flip sides of the ball a little bit, because there's 3 players that I do want to get to on offense, and if we're talking the Lincoln Riley team, we're obviously going to talk offense, although defense has been a big point of contention out there in L.A. Let's start with the quarterback. Jim, we kind of already mentioned the similarities between LSU and USC, and one of them is that quarterback position guy who's waited his turn, taking over for a former Heisman Trophy winner. A guy like Miller Moss, how does he replicate what he did in the bowl game against LSU?
Well, he that wasn't his team last year, so this is Miller's team, just like it's Garrett's team at LSU for the first time. So, just going through the entire offseason as the leader of that football team was big for him. I'm sure he's going to feel a lot more comfortable going into this game than he was even in that bowl game. And that's where the parallel is, right? Like he and Nussmeier both in a really small sample size of the bowl game. They both did a lot of really good things. I've been on record saying how much I think of Garrett Nussmeier based off that Wisconsin game. So Miller did a lot of good things, but it's just how he manages this stage. I mean, this is arguably a bigger stage than the bowl game he played in. So it'll be interesting, but certainly all eyes will be on him, and he's waited his turn there behind Caleb Williams, and we'll see if he can take advantage of it.
Is there one part of his game that stands out to you as a scout?
Well, in the one game, it was accuracy, which is a good place to start. Everyone's looking for guys that are accurate, so that would be the biggest thing right now that stood out in that bowl game. I mean, he doesn't have Garrett Nussmeier's arm talent. I mean, he doesn't have that kind of arm strength, but in that bowl game, he was able to put it where he wanted to put it. So again, that's a cool trait to have. I mean, every NFL team's looking for an accurate guy, so that's the one thing he showed in the bowl game.
talking with Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Jim, a familiar name to many around here is Woody Marks. Of course, spent time at Mississippi State. We talked about him in this very segment last year before the game between the Tigers and the Bulldogs. He enters the portal. He goes out west. What makes him a perfect fit for Lincoln Riley's offense?
I don't know about Lincoln Riley's offense, but he can stay in the field all three downs, which is a good place to start for any back. I mean, you hate putting a running back out there that when he's out there, teams know you're running the football, right? Because he can't pass protect or he can't catch the football. Woody Marks is a great pass protector. That's something he does at a really high level compared to most college backs. And he's an interesting one. Like we did, last year with the juniors being eligible for the Senior Bowl for the first time, we were kind of waiting it out with some junior running backs that we had stacked up high, like Braylon Allen from Wisconsin, guys like that. And then when we weren't able to get him, I circled back to Woody Marks. We were going to invite him. He was going to be here in Mobile, and when I called, the agent to say what's Woody doing, he's like, man, he's already out at USC. He's already transferred. So then at that point, I've known Lincoln Riley a long time. I'm sure he wouldn't have enjoyed a phone call of us trying to take a running back that he had committed for 2024. So never made that call, but that's how much we like Woody Marks. I mean, we had all our running backs, stacked last year, and he was up there, and he's starting the year up there as well.
Then along the offensive line for the Trojans, right in the middle of the offensive line, Jonah Mayim, a guy snapping the ball. I know y'all are very high on him. What stands out about the big man in the middle there?
Yeah, he's a really good athlete. Jonah's another guy that we actually did invite last year, and he had a really hard decision to make because the NFL really sees him as a center. He's played mostly guard and some tackle over his time at USC. So they convinced him, come back and put a full year of center tape on for the NFL teams to evaluate. So we would have used him last year at center during Senior Bowl week, but again, good on him. I mean, we don't pressure these guys. If they want to go back to school, that's great. But so this is going to be a really big prove-it year for him playing center. I think he's up for it. He's a good player. I mean, we thought he was going to be like a fourth-round type guy if he came out in last year's draft. So this will be one of the better centers that LSU faces all year.
With the interior of LSU's defensive line being a little bit of a question mark, definitely a matchup to circle here as the Tigers and the Trojans do battle in a few hours. Jim, we appreciate the time as always here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day, helping us break down the competition. Happy to have you back for another year. Thank you, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, Matt. Good luck to the Tigers this weekend.
Absolutely. This is Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. Grab a break. Come back with more from Vegas. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Off the bench on Game Day. Presented by Shell. Shell is the rhythm of Louisiana. Off the Bench is heard weekday mornings at 7 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from OTB, here's T-Bob Hebert.
All right, I want to talk about Blake Baker, guys, because you try to think, okay, what's it going to look like? Because I haven't been able to get out to a ton of practices, and I've heard a lot of things, but like I really enjoyed Wilson's piece in The Advocate this morning where he goes back to Blake Baker during the LSU puts on these coaching clinics at different parts of the year, Jake, and back in the spring, he's talking to the high school coach, and he's kind of giving his philosophy, and he says the number one goal, and this should be very exciting from a spectator standpoint, and I like this because it's all the aggression that LSU has lost through the years that we've been begging them to find once again. He says his number one goal as defensive coordinator, Jake, is havoc. And he highly values that statistic, havoc rate. And if you've never heard of havoc rate, it's the percentage of defensive plays that end up as a negative for the offense, essentially, right? So that's TFLs, sacks, pass breakups, interceptions, forced fumbles. Not incomplete passes, pass breakups, right? Where you, the players, are making plays to negatively affect the offense. He says he wants LSU to have a 25% havoc rate. One of every 4 plays, Jake, he wants somebody out there making an impact. To put some numbers on it real quick, last year, LSU had a 15.6% havoc rate. That was 66th in the country. Actually a bit higher than I thought it would have been. In 22, it was a 15.2% havoc rate. At Mizzou, Baker was at 19% last year, 21% the year before. So basically, Baker's trying to do something in terms of his goal that he hasn't even accomplished, that he didn't even get done at Mizzou, but maybe he feels like he's got some more weapons, some more elite toys to play with here in this scheme. What do you think, Jake, when you hear that goal of a 25% havoc rate?
That is lofty expectations.
Yeah.
Certainly from where you were a year ago. And like you said, like you haven't been there in other places, but look, you're going to have different Jimmys and Joes at LSU than Mizzou. Now, you know I love Mizzou. I love Drink, but that's just the way it is. Like you look at the guys put in the NFL, so we don't even have to go down that road. Like we know that. And so that feels like somebody that, one, he thinks he has the personnel to do it, and two, maybe he thinks he has to take more chances. They can't sit on their heels because a year ago, it's exactly what LSU did. I can't remember which show that we were throwing this around, but last year, I mean, they were a quarters team. Like that's what they did. Like when things got tight, like, hey, let's play quarters. And it has its place, but it's so just safe and boring and predictable. And every time that we bring up coverages, when we do it with Flynn, when you do it with Aaron Murray, they love quarters. I did it with EJ yesterday. He's like, oh, no, keep playing quarters, please. I love it. That's not what Blake Baker is. Blake Baker, we talked about it. Like, they are going to be cover one. They are going to be, like, way more aggressive in their coverage. And so I think that you're going to see some of that aggressive nature come out with who's coming on what play. Maybe still you don't call it a blitz. Maybe you're still bringing 4, but who are those 4?
Yeah.
Maybe you only bring 5, but where are those 5 coming from? So we're not sitting here saying that he's going to play cover 0 and bring the house every play, but I think he's going to be much more creative. You're not going to just see 4 down linemen and have 4 rush, right? You'll see 4 down linemen and you'll have 4 come, but it might be from depth. It might come from the edge. It's going to be way more creative. You're going to take more chances. It's going to be more aggressive. And so when I hear something like that, it's to tell me that he feels like through that aggression, through the playmakers that they do have, the talent that they have, that number's going to go up. I was kind of looking up the rate for blitzes last year at Mizzou because I was just interested. They blitzed 45% of the time last year. So on 507 throws, like the sample size we have, they blitzed 45% of those. The blitz came from the box 81.1% of the time. It came from the slot 12.3% of the time. They brought corner cats.
Wait, from the box 81% of the time?
81.1% of the time. So think Harold Perkins, Whit Weeks, Greg Penn. They brought the nickel 12.3% of the time. They showed pressure and dropped 15.3% of the time. So a lot of times when they show they're coming, they're coming. 5-man rush, 56.1% of the time.
Okay.
6-man, 20% of the time. 7-man pressure, only 3.1. But that 6-man being 20%, like think about that. 6 guys coming on a pass play, 507 is the sample size, and 20% of that time you were bringing 6 guys.
These DBs got to hold up.
Yeah.
That's
now, will that change because you had 2 DBs that played in the Senior Bowl, different personnel out there for Mizzou a year ago?
Well, and that does seem to be one of the things that in Wilson's piece, to be fair, they get into that isn't entirely clear because they do talk about adapting the scheme to fit the personnel and how Blake Baker would prefer to play man. Maybe it's a situation where those numbers are a little less, or maybe not. Maybe you have your kind of zones ready to go that you feel comfortable in, but you just are going to test to see, like, okay, let's make them prove they can consistently beat man and not make mistakes, and then we can go there. But yeah, Ashton Stamps, Sage Ryan, ball's in your court. If you want to make this thing work, if you want to let Blake Baker run the system that he really wants to run, like, it's going to be on these defensive backs to hold it down against what should be a pretty good USC receiving core here. I got a quote from Harold Perkins that'll fire you up. Everybody loves to hate on Matt House, right? Quote, "The rules that Coach House had in his defense and Coach Baker has in his defense, they're kind of opposite. All the stuff Coach House was telling us to do, Baker's defense is kind of the opposite."
I know that all of us want to see Harold Perkins on the edge getting after the quarterback, but also I'll remind you this. You can get after the quarterback as a box linebacker with a good defensive coordinator, and that's what LSU has. We've given you the numbers of them blitzing from the box. That does not mean he has to be, because for me, can Harold Perkins go on the edge and get it done and beat a tackle? Sure. We've seen it so many times. He can. But just imagine if Harold Perkins comes from depth and you got him one-on-one with a running back in the A or B gap, and Perk has a 3-way go.
Yeah.
Left, right, through. He has those options. And he's going to get somebody who is 205 to 210 and not 310 to 320. As a running back, the only time I got nervous blocking, I would block any guy on the edge. I tell you all the time, I could take the inside away, I could run you up the field, and I could anchor for the bull rush.
Yeah.
If I was facing Ray Lewis, Patrick Willis, Lawrence Timmons, any of those guys, and they were coming from depth, they had the advantage because they could come straight to the A gap, they could loop to the B gap, they could loop all around, and they had a 3-way go. I couldn't take any, there's nothing I could take away from them. Right? And when you don't have the ability to take away something, it leaves you open for everything.
So to explain what Jake's talking about with 3-way go, think about a goalie on a penalty kick, right? Imagine if half the goal was shut down. Okay, that's the guy coming off the edge. You can handle that. It's a lot less area to have to deal with. You work inside out.
You're working with the tackle too.
Yeah, you got a little help, but you are, if it's just a free run 3-way go, you are a goalie just facing down a penalty kick, try not to guess, but kind of like, needing to a little bit. And then think about the fact that, okay, Harold Perkins can line up mugged up in the A gap and then drop back into coverage. And then, or he can come from depth, or he can just be a spy. Like, the ways that you can use him on the interior are many, and we know he's great in coverage. He was one of the highest graded linebackers in coverage last year in the entire country.
So if you put 2 linebackers, AA mugs, right there in the A gap, you get your 4 down linemen. If T-Bob's the center, T-Bob's going to go Mike 7. He's not going to put Harold Perkins on a back. So by design of the play call, he's going to send the protection to number 7. That means that the 5 offensive linemen would have the 4 down guys in Harold Perkins, and probably T would end up as a center on Harold Perkins. That would put the back with me, okay? The linebacker and the back are going to meet. So if it's Whit Weeks or Greg Penn, whoever that is, okay? But then all of a sudden, this is going to happen. You're so scared of number 7. Well, he's mugged up as well. He drops. T-Bob goes to him, and now you've wasted an offensive lineman. Now T-Bob's looking for help, but he doesn't really have a responsibility. You get Perkins in coverage, and you still get what? Your 1-on-1 with linebacker and running back.
Yeah.
So those are the games that you can play if you have a guy like Harold Perkins.
Yeah.
And you've got the Weeks brothers, you've got Greg Penn, who are going to have one-on-one matchups with Woody Marks, who's not the biggest running back in the world. Go win your individual matchup.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media. Presented by Rev. Rev. Fiber fast internet made in Louisiana.
Back here, Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Earlier this week, Matt Moscona sat down with Ryan Abraham of USCFootball.com to get a closer look at the Trojans.
Brian, it's a pleasure, man. Thanks for joining us again. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I can't believe it's almost here. Long off season, so I'm really excited for football now.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of teams in college football that are open with real duds. Thankfully for LSU and USC, we had a lot. This was a hell of an entree, to warm us up throughout the offseason. If I asked you to gauge sort of the temperature of the program right now, coming off what has to be considered a disappointing year last year, given the expectation and the resources, where is the 10,000-foot view of USC football today?
It's getting a little better than it certainly was at the end of last season. I think the whole season, USC fans were upset at the defensive performance. They weren't really a fan of Alex Grinch and wanted Lincoln Riley to fire him after year one. He didn't get fired until, 10 games in, and it was a little too late at that point. And losing 5 of your last 6, the recruiting wasn't going that well. They just weren't, on top of things NIL-wise. There was a lot of negativity around, but I think they got some momentum back going into the bowl game and seeing Miller Moss throw 6 touchdown passes and feeling like the future of the program, there's some brightness there. And when he hired Danton Lynn and brought in a whole new defensive staff, a bunch of guys that were maybe overqualified for the positions that they got hired for at USC, I think people felt a lot better about where the direction was going. Of course, the first going to be the pudding, what we see on Sunday in Las Vegas, but I think the fan base started to buy into, okay, it looks like this can turn things around. Now, if they go out and give up, 55 points or something in the desert, it's going to go right back. But I think right now they're feeling a little bit better about the way things could go. And, having a good showing on Sunday would go a long way to keeping that going.
I would wholeheartedly endorse LSU scoring 55 on Sunday in Allegiant Stadium. I would love to. Hey, LSU and SC, we've talked about it so much. The teams are so similar. From your perspective, where do you have the bigger question? Is it, what does this new look defense look like, or what is the offense going to be without Caleb Williams?
It's more on the defensive side. I think the biggest question is probably what they're going to do on the offensive line, because they love Jonah Monheim, but go from left tackle to center, that's a big move. And they love Elijah Page, who's going to be the new left tackle, but he's a redshirt, freshman. And so there's some questions there, and there's not as much depth. I think on the defensive side, just because they performed so poorly the last few years, what is this group going to look like? But there's a lot of quiet confidence when you're talking to the players and the coaches. I don't think they have the depth that they would like on the defensive line, especially in the middle there, but there's enough guys there. We saw Denton Lynn turn UCLA from a really bad defense to the number 2 defense against the run last year in just one season. So I think that's where a lot of the optimism is, but where you want to see the real changes, Lincoln Riley's just had great offenses every time he's, whatever quarterback he's rolled out there, they've had a great offense. So I think for me, it's more on the defensive side, just seeing how much they'll improve, but how much they can improve, I think, will determine how far this team goes this year.
He's Ryan Abraham, USCFootball.com, taking a look at the Trojans. I want to dig a little deeper there on the USC defensive line, because if we're looking through from an LSU perspective, it would seem the biggest mismatch that favors LSU, of course, LSU's offensive line against that USC defensive front seven. Can you just give us a little bit of a thumbnail dive deeper into that defensive front and what that LSU offensive line is up against?
Yeah, they don't really have a true nose tackle, but Bear Alexander, who transferred in from Georgia, he had a sack in the national championship game against TCU. He's kind of going to be the center piece of that. He potentially was going to go in the portal and end up sticking at USC. So he's kind of he's the guy that really needs to perform to make that line go. And they brought in some transfers, but they didn't get, I think, just like LSU, they tried to get some of the big name defensive tackles, and those mostly went to the NIL superstars like the Oregons and the Miamis of the world. But, they bring in Gavin Meyer from Wyoming, who was more a rotational guy, but they really like what he's done so far in camp. And Nate Clifton from SEC country, he comes over from Vanderbilt, put on about 20 pounds. He's going to play inside as well. And they'll rotate a bunch of guys on the edge. Jamil Muhammad was pretty productive, at least in the early part of last year. A guy like Braylon Shelby is a sophomore who they have a lot of high hopes for. So I think it's going to be a lot of rotation. You'll probably see a lot of different guys kind of coming in and out. But the main one is it's going to focus on Bear Alexander and trying to keep him healthy. I think, from the interior spot, maybe you're not getting a lot of numbers, but he really has to be a disruptor because it's a very stout LSU offensive line. Maybe they can exploit a little bit at the center spot where there's been some questions, and that would be Bear Alexander's job. But for me, he's the key for the whole defensive line.
What about in the secondary, Ryan? That seems to be where, as I read the tea leaves, SC seems to be most excited about the talent on the back end. How does that matchup go with a really talented LSU receiver core?
Yeah, they brought in Doug Belk, who is the defensive coordinator at Houston, and they've recruited that position well. It's just one of those California positions where there hasn't been a drop-off like maybe some of the linemen. And I think they liked where they were, but they still brought in a bunch of guys that can be very productive. Achille Arnold is going to be one of the team captains for this game. coming over from Oregon State. DeCarlos Nicholson comes in from Mississippi State. He could play a big part. Greedy Vance has played LSU twice. He was at Florida State the last couple of years, and they brought him in late. Really didn't need him. He might end up being their starting nickel. So I think they had a really good core group of guys already, and then they brought in a bunch of transfers as well. So there's a ton of depth. I think that's where probably the deepest position on the team, and I'm not sure which group is going to go out there, if they're going to move guys around depending on the down and distance and everything. But they have a lot of options in the secondary. I think they feel a lot better than they have the last few years.
What would be an acceptable performance Sunday night for the USC defense?
I mean, it's a good question, like numbers-wise. I think a lot of it's eye test. You just don't want to get pushed around. I mean, if you go back to USC playing Washington, Michael Penix threw the ball all over the field. Washington ran all over USC last year late in the season. It was like, that's not even a running team. But I think you want to see them just look like they know what they're doing. Last year they would be looking at wristbands as the ball was being snapped, not sure what's going on. Really just being able to play fast. And if you give up some points or big plays or whatever, that's fine. But you want to see them look like they know what they're doing. Guys are just running around with the football. If you force some turnovers or make some big tackles, I think that's a big thing. And I think just tackling, not having like 15 missed tackles like they would have in games like that. I mean, I don't want to put like a number on it.
Sure.
It could be a low-scoring game, a high-scoring game, but you just want to see a product on the field. They're like, what they look like in the Holiday Bowl, even without Ditson running it, looked more like a competent defense. I think that's really what you want to see if you're a USC fan.
Got a couple more minutes here with Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com, owner-publisher over there, if you want to give him a follow. Let's flip it over to the offensive side. We know the storylines around Miller Moss replacing Caleb Williams, but where is the strength of that offensive unit?
So I would go with the wide receiver core, and especially there are 4 true sophomores that all came in the same recruiting class, and usually don't hit on a bunch of guys like that, but all 4 of them have the potential to be superstars. Like, people know about Zachariah Branch because he's also working, special teams and can return kicks for scores and things like that. But 2 really big receivers, Deuce Robinson is 6'6", and Jacoby Lane is 6'5", 6'6" range. Both big guys, huge catch radiuses, and they can make contested catches and be really athletic out there. And then Mekhi Lemon comes in as well in that class, and he came in with Malachi Nelson, a former 5-star quarterback. They came in together, and Nelson's now at Boise State. But those 4 guys, I think everyone's really excited about. They played well. All of them. Zachariah Branch didn't do much in the Holiday Bowl, but the rest of those 3 guys all did. And you kind of pair them with some veteran transfers that they had brought in, but that's the core of this group. And I think Miller Moss trying to find those guys, like he did, he had 6 touchdown passes in the Holiday Bowl. A lot of them went to those guys. I think that's where the strength is going to be. If USC wins this game, that group of wide receivers probably had to have a big game for that to happen.
Is there any trepidation around Miller Moss taking the reins?
He's been very well liked by the players, and I think the coaching staff as well. Lincoln Riley could have gone out and brought in a veteran quarterback, and I think like Ohio State did and other programs did. But I think what Moss did in the Holiday Bowl showed Riley enough. Okay, he's capable of running this offense and producing the kind of output that he's used to. I mean, Miller Moss will be the 6th starting quarterback that Lincoln Riley's had as a head coach. Of the previous 5, 4 of them were Heisman finalists, and the other one, was drafted in Spencer Rattler, and he was replaced by a Heisman winner. So he's had a really good pedigree with quarterbacks, and the fact that he didn't go out, he brought in a younger quarterback in Jade Mayava from UNLV that could be more of a future guy. I think that just showed he had a lot of confidence in what Moss could do. Maybe it's confidence in what he can do. I don't know, but he hasn't had any duds yet at quarterback. So if Moss is, he would be the first one.
We seldom talk about the third phase, but the third phase the last 2 years for LSU a lot of times has been an exercise in futility, if not an altogether challenge. Where is SC if you think about special teams, if it's field position and punting, the return game, place kicking if it comes down to a field goal? How confident should Lincoln Riley be?
I think very similar to LSU, they've struggled, I think, on the special teams side. They probably lost that Cotton Bowl to Tulane because of the special teams gap where you're taking a kickoff at the 2-yard line or whatever. So I feel like he's tried to address it in the offseason. They bring in a long snapper. They're going to put on scholarship Hank Pepper to kind of fix up the problems they had there. Michael Lance was the kicker at Georgia Southern. They brought him in, even though their incumbent is still there. But there's been a competition. It looks like Lance is going to win the job. I think they've put more resources into special teams, trying to make it better. They weren't very good at putting kickoffs into the end zone and, gave up a bunch of returns. So I think they've tried to address it, like I'm sure like LSU has as well, but it has been an issue. And, we've seen LSU struggle in the first game with some bad special teams plays. I think that could be a big determining factor, but I think at least on the USC side, they really tried to address some of the problems that they had. Last year, Dennis Lynch would hit some tough field goals, but he missed a lot of them between like the 30 to 40 range, which you got to get those. So they're hoping Michael Lance can fix that and, not having snapping issues, just go forward with that. But it's definitely been an issue the last couple of years. It's something they've worked on.
Last thing, if there's aside from scoring 55 points, if there's a blueprint for SC, if it goes completely as Lincoln Riley would have it go to script, how does that look Sunday night?
I think just being able to get some stops on the defensive side, not, giving up third and longs and missed tackles and a lot of busted coverages. Just keeping don't have so much pressure on the offense that they have to score every time they touch the ball, giving a young quarterback like Miller Moss some leeway to be able to hand the ball off more. And, maybe it's 3rd and 5 and you try to run the ball and you don't force them to throw something and pick up the first down, great, otherwise punt it. And then give him an opportunity to find those young wide receivers. So I think it starts on the defensive side where you're just so many games, you just felt like Caleb Williams knew he had to score every single time he touched the ball. That's a lot of pressure. So I think for Lincoln Riley, if you just don't put that pressure on the offense and let them kind of click, they'll score some points. But it's a lot easier too when maybe you're up by a touchdown or you feel like the defense can get a stop versus, okay, we have to score every time or we're going to lose this game.
Ryan Abraham, USCFootball.com. Check it out. You want to cover the Trojans, get the latest as we get inch closer to kickoff, get it there, USCFootball.com. Ryan, we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for the time.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
98.1.
Get a free roof inspection by Garcia Roofing. GarciaDidMyRoof.com.
WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Presented by Super Chevy. Talkin' Tigers. Talkin' Tigers. Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier.
I mean, obviously, there's a different dynamic going from being a backup to the starter. But, I feel like, it's just taking the same approach that I've always taken. Just trying to lead, be vocal, be an uplifting spirit, keep the guys going. It gets tough out there, it gets hot out there. We just got to push through, focus on our work and focus on our job. Coach Sloan's talking a lot about being intentional with everything we do and having integrity and being focused. Locked in focus is something he says all the time. So that's been the biggest thing for us, is just staying focused on our jobs, staying focused on our tasks and moving as one.
Offensive lineman Will Campbell.
Yeah, USC is a good football team, and, it's somebody who we're not very familiar with. New defensive coordinator. They got a bunch of new playmakers. Man, like I said, they're a good football team, and we know that we got to come out, execute, and, play our style of football. And, we think if we do that, we're going to be fine.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
4 starts is actually, like, in the SEC, that's a lot of games, like 4 starts. So most of them, majority of them was SEC games. So just being able to feel that presence, feel the atmosphere, seeing how fast the game go is like, the second year should be way easier for me. Like, I got a lot of confidence going into this season, like, different from last year, but it's not about last year, it's just about this year and focusing on the next couple of practices to get us ready for the season.
Running back Josh Williams.
Going into the first game, I feel like there's a lot of jitters out there on the field on both sides. I believe that we have to come in there with the mindset of just playing fast, free, and physical. If you just go out there and just play your game and not really think about it being the only game on Sunday or at that time and who's watching and who's this, if you just get on the field and just stay in the moment, I feel like we'll come out more aggressive and a little bit more solid.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
I think the communication has improved, especially pre-snap, talking to each other, alerting guys what could come, things like that. So just communicating, and even off the field, guys are wanting to meet and do extra film, and just we want to see things the same as a whole defense, so it'll make us play faster on the field.
Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier.
I think we're a very, very close-knit group. I think we've really meshed together, very, very well from the spring to summer to now. And it's 3 weeks until the game. There's not much time left. And I think we've done an outstanding job coming together, kind of establishing our identity of who we want to be. I think we're going to be explosive and very physical, and it's going to be something that's fun to watch.
Offensive lineman Will Campbell.
Really, everybody knows what we got to do. We talk about it in the O-line room all the time. We got to come out ready to fight, and that's the end of it. As soon as we, get off that plane, it's a fight. No way around it. We know what we're there for. We're not there to go to Caesar's Palace. We're there to go get in a fist fight, and everybody in this building knows it, and that's just what it is.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
Corey Raymond, he's attention to detail with every little thing, like just 1 inch. Like if I mess up on 1 inch of a step, he's. Even if I get a good play, I might get an interception. He's gonna make it seem like it's the worst play ever, But that's what I like about him. He pushes you hard no matter what.
Running back Josh Williams.
I think the running game will be great this year. Just the amount of reps that we've put in during camp and going into this week. I think it's more of a mindset, a mentality that we want to get it going regardless of what they throw at us. So I'm excited to see how we'll do on Sunday.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
I think everybody's gotten better. Guys have understood their roles and what they need to do. Everyone has accepted their roles, and that's something Coach Baker kind of, before fall camp, he wanted guys to just play with effort, play with enthusiasm, and we can clean things up as long as you play with effort. That's kind of where he started at. So I just think everybody's decided to go out there and play for him, really.
Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier.
He's a playmaker, and he's got that swag and that confidence, and he knows he's going to make a play, and then he's going to make the play. And so, I've been really proud of Perk and the way he's, stepped up as a leader, and he's really, really, tried to grow in different areas. And, you can see that on the field. You can see that he's making an effort to do that. At the end of the day, Perk's always going to be Perk, with his swagger and the way he acts. And it's definitely, it's been awesome to see.
Offensive lineman Will Campbell.
I'll say explosive. There's a lot of explosive playmakers, not only on the outside, but the inside in our running back room. And, like I said, we're going to run the ball. So, that's not something we're hiding or, trying to keep quiet. I'm telling everybody right now we are going to run the football. So you can take what you want with that. And, Caleb, Josh, Caden, all these guys, they're all big, powerful, fast guys. And I'm just excited for them.
Talking Tigers, Eagle 98.1, Game Day.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs, reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret in town is out.
98.1. The Alumni Hall College Football Scoreboard. Alumni Hall, your ultimate Tigers shopping destination.
Yesterday, #1 Georgia beat #14 Clemson 34-3. Carson Beck threw a couple of touchdown passes. #4 Texas shut out Colorado State 52-0. They go to the Big House in Ann Arbor next week. They'll hand Michigan their first loss since 2022. #5 Alabama wins for Kalen DeBoer in his debut 63-0 over Western Kentucky. Jalen Milroe 3 touchdown passes in that one. #6 Ole Miss destroyed Furman 76-0. 5 touchdown passes for Jackson Dart. #7 Notre Dame beat #20 Texas A&M on the road 23-13. Riley Leonard 158 yards in his Notre Dame debut. #15 Tennessee beat Chattanooga 69-3. #19 Miami beat Florida in the Swamp 41-17. Cam Ward threw for 385 yards and 3 touchdown passes. Vanderbilt pulled the upset at home. They beat Virginia Tech in overtime 34-27. South Carolina struggled against Old Dominion but won 23-19. Old Dominion had the lead with 7 minutes to go in this this game. Mississippi State beat Eastern Kentucky 56-7. It was Auburn easy over Alabama A&M 73-3. Peyton Thorne threw 4 touchdown passes for the Tigers, and Kentucky shut out Southern Miss 31-0. The Georgia transfer Brock Vandegrift threw 3 touchdown passes for the Wildcats. We'll take a break here. Come back. Richard Dixon gives us his thoughts on today's game from the BetMGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the need.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Keys to the V. Presented by Coors Light. Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill.
Well, it's officially a party here at the Mandalay Bay Sportsbook. They just played neck. And you know what came right after it in a full chorus. Let me tell you something. They were on key. Let's bring in former LSU Tiger Richard Dixon, my guest. Of course, he'll be doing all of the post games except this one. And, of course, with us on Fridays on the Daily Show and on the podcast. Rich, good afternoon. How are you? Well, let's see if we do we. Rich, can you hear me? Okay, we have a little first little glitch. Do we have him now? Well, hang on just a second. We'll see if we can. We'll see if we can punch him up here. All right, who we got? Rich, can you hear me now? Okay, well, hey, listen, tell you what, for all of the things we've been doing here, it's been a pretty glitch-free show and week, so one little one here. We'll be back after the game, 90 minutes after here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Whiskey and Wine also will be on immediately following LSU and USC. So, okay, we got him now.
Yes, sir.
Hey, okay, there you are. Give me a couple of keys to the game tonight for LSU.
The biggest thing is for everybody to play their own role, man. I mean, last year, when you talk about defensive issues we were having, you had guys trying to, cover up other mistakes, cover up weaknesses. This year, trust your coaching, trust your process, trust your game plan. And like Brian Kelly said, if everybody can play, 1/11th of the defense, they feel pretty confident in what they're able to do.
One of the things we haven't talked about a ton is new offensive coordinator Joe Sloan. What do you expect from a rhythm standpoint for him with Garrett Nussmeier making now the start, of course, here today was a starter in the bowl game when Sloan was calling plays there?
I feel like it's going to be an easy transition. I mean, Joe Sloan's audition for the offensive coordinator job was the bowl game last year. They had 4 weeks to put in a game plan, 4 weeks to put in the game plan just for Nussmeier, do everything that he's comfortable with, and then go out and execute. And they executed it flawlessly in the bowl game. I feel like they're already in rhythm right now and ready to roll.
Rich, can you put it into words what the players are feeling right now after an entire off season, the hard work in the summer, spring football, a long August camp, having to watch football all day yesterday, and they finally get out there here in a couple hours? You've been through this. What's it like for the players right now?
It's an anxious feeling. It's a ticking time bomb. These guys are ready to explode, man. They've hit on their buddies, hit on the teammates for so long. They're tired of beating up on each other. I mean, right now, I'll tell you, Will Campbell put it best in his interview last week. They're going in there for a fist fight. They're ready to beat somebody up and get things rolling and, have fun with it.
All right, Rich, I hope we can check in with you after the game. And, of course, you'll be back with us on the podcast during the week. Enjoy it, brother, and we'll talk to you when we get back to bat. Well, we'll talk to you in postgame tonight.
Yes, sir. Go Tigers. Ready for it.
They're ready for it here at the Mandalay Bay. We'll take a break. We'll go over to the stadium and talk with Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, when we return. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day inside the stadium. Presented by Louisiana Federal Land Bank. Louisiana Federal Land Bank. They're experts in rural land and equipment lending.
Let's head over to Allegiant Stadium, the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, this is a little bit different than stopping in a parking lot in Mississippi to stretch. Vegas is a little bit different. Tell us, set the scene for us over there for the traveling party and for this game that we're going to kick off here in a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, we did not make a stop on the way in. It was nonstop from Baton Rouge yesterday into Sin City, and just walked into Allegiant Stadium, into the booth, and you could sense it, man. I mean, it really, this is Allegiant Stadium. You know what to expect on a Raiders game day, and it looks a lot of purple and gold. Charlie, I'll be honest with you. We just crossed over the parking lot, and Tiger fans are here ready to go, and they're not too far away from opening the doors and let them find their seats.
You have a good pulse for Brian Kelly, being able to talk to him during the week, and then, of course, on game day. What do you sense from the head coach heading into his third year?
Yeah, very calm, a very calm confidence. I noticed it on Monday, and then it really got hammered home, Charlie, on Thursday. Visiting with him at TJ Ribs, just really, really confident in his team. Again, there's a lot of questions that I'm sure he's looking for answers for today, like all of us are. But he really, I kind of tempered my statements and questions Thursday about how, this group could be, a special group. This group has the potential to be very good. And he almost at times, Charlie, would correct me and go, no, this group is very good. Based on what we've seen at fall camp and what they've done in the offseason, this is a good group. So I think he's confident. I know he feels good about the depth that they have. He talked about the deep rotations they hope to have on the defensive front, talked well about the safeties. And then offensively, he seems pretty comfortable. So, again, he's a guy that, at least my experience with him for 2+ years, never too high, never too low. He's kind of seen it all, so there's no need to hit a panic button. But he seemed very, very calm and collected leading into this opening game.
Last thing, this is a unique situation. I don't know that I can remember a game where both teams were replacing a Heisman Trophy quarterback, but that's what we have here today. With that in mind, two experienced guys going into fourth-year guys going in at quarterback. What are you expecting out of the two signal callers?
Yeah, I think this is two teams that look a lot like each other in the mirror. You talk about the quarterback story. It's both very similar. And defensively, I think coming off last year, both teams very similar. But both coaches, when you listen to them, they talked about how this is kind of an old-school throwback approach for both quarterbacks. They've hung around. They've been the understudy to Caleb Williams and obviously Jaden Daniels, and they've stayed put, waiting for their time. And tonight, coming up in just a little bit, it will be their time. I think Garrett certainly did a great job of earning his teammates' respect in Tampa. And, of course, USC's quarterback had a well of a game against Louisville in their bowl game. But I really think it comes down to defense. And I know that's an obvious statement to make, but I just want to see which defense, which was totally overhauled by both teams in the offseason, both with staff and even transfer portal, like which defense is ready to go for the first game of the season when there's no room for error. Top 25 matchup, neutral site, which team's going to be ready to make a stop? I think it comes down to the team that blinks first and blinks the most.
Chris, have a great call and a safe trip home, and we'll talk to you next week for the home opener.
You got it, Charlie. Thank you. Go Tigers.
We'll hand the baton to the network here in just a few minutes. We'll be back to wrap it up from the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Mandalay Bay, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs: reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
98.1.
2 hours away from kickoff of tonight's game between LSU and USC. Two teams very, very similar. Two teams with aspirations of the playoffs. The winner gets a leg up tonight. We'll be back 90 minutes after the end of LSU and USC. Whiskey and Wine goes right after the game. From all of us here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Mandalay Bay, I'm Charles Hager saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The following is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Once again, your Fighting Tigers open the season for all the college